It's noon. Tim, what are we doing here?
It's post-meridian.
Don't we usually go on at like 10? We're done by this time.
Yeah. Well, till next week.
Yes, I don't know. It was a good show.
One of our best.
How was your week?
Good week. We'll get into it later, but I watched a little bit of Stranger Things.
How far did you get?
I'm still like 5 or 6 episodes in.
Okay, okay. So yeah. we'll talk about the whole thing probably next week. You said you could make it through. I thought it was a tough proposition, but
I gave it my all.
You did. Good weekend though.
Yeah, good weekend. So full disclosure to anyone watching, I just got in the door. Just got home. So, but I am raring to go.
Well, let's get started here. I don't know if you saw this story earlier in the year. I'm sure you did because it's pretty local to you. But those who don't live in central Pennsylvania might not know. This past football season, a record was broken. The oldest position player, because I've seen 61-year-old kickers, but let's be honest, what does that count? The oldest position player played college football right like in your neighborhood, Tim.
Yeah.
A gentleman named Tom Sillo joined the Lycoming Warriors. And I'll tell you what, I could tell you about the story if you want, but I could do you one better. This year, our first episode back in January, we have a special guest, Mr. Tom Sillo. Welcome in. This is Soup and Meatballs, the epitome of media right here. Tom, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me very much.
I'll tell you what, Tom, let's start off. I'm sure you've told the story about 1,000 times, but what's 1,001? Walk us through how you wound up playing college football at the ripe age of whatever it is. People can look it up if you don't want to tell them.
3 days, I'll be 59. So stay tuned on that. But I can take this all the way back into my teenage years. I guess, we can start right from the beginning or the roots of it. Grew up in a sports family, loved playing football, baseball, basketball, outside, neighbor kids, what have you. And I was about 15 years old and signed up for my high school football team. Well, within a couple of days, I quit. I just found some things in life that probably entertained me a little more than the athletics, I'll say. And so I never played organized football. But absolutely loved it. Growing up rooting for the Oakland Raiders. And if you can believe that, in Central PA. Yeah, I'm left-handed. So I don't know. Ken Stabler.
Stabler, yeah.
That was the connection. I don't know.
And then Marinovich.
Well, yeah. Didn't have the same success, but yes, he was a lefty too. And I had dreams growing up that I would go to college and be a collegiate athlete, basketball too. I thought I'd play college basketball. But I got sidetracked, I guess I could say, drugs, alcohol as a young kid in my early teens. And so that never materialized. And, I graduated high school and off into the workforce I go. I did some construction, worked at a hardware store. I moved at a furniture store for a few years. Then I got hired by the city of Williamsport when I was 24 years old and worked 33 years for the streets department. And in order to get hired by the city, I had to pass a drug test. So that ultimately that helped, play a role in all this. But, all through the years, I always held to this notion that, physically, I could still do this. And obviously the years go by. In my case, decades go by, not just decades. But I always maintained a certain level of fitness. And in my mind,
competitions from what I read about.
Say that again.
Strongman competitions back when you were working for the city, right?
I did. Actually, the strongman was in my mid-50s. That was just about 3 years ago. Yes. And but in
the article I read made it seem like you were doing it as you were working. Okay.
Well, in my mid-30s, I met a guy that introduced me to powerlifting, And at that point, I had never done a deadlift in my life. And when I started doing it, absolutely fell in love with it. Still my favorite lift to this day. Um, Not even 2 years ago, I had the good fortune of setting a world record for my age group in the deadlift. So I don't know. I'm sure you can relate. I just have this spirit of competition to me, and it's never left me. And have people ever told you don't live with regret or regrets? But listen, man, if you live long enough, I don't know. It's just human nature. I had regrets, and this was one of them, that I never went to college, that I never competed as a collegiate athlete. So I retired from the city, and I ended up taking a job at my high school, Williamsport High School, as the equipment manager, and worked for several months with the sports programs. And actually, before school, I was in training a number of the student athletes, which I absolutely loved. I mean, I loved it. That was really great. But I just felt like Monday, day after day, just became the mundane, and I felt like I needed a change. And again, in my mind, I held to this notion that why not? I can still pull this off. I always wanted to go to college. I always wanted to compete. So I ran this by a friend of mine, Dave Belomo, who was actually the guy that introduced me to powerlifting. And I said, Dave, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I want to go back to school, and I want to make a run at attempting to play college football. And Dave, I think Dave was more excited than I was, and he couldn't be more encouraging, through the process. So there's a guy I'd known for years through the local YMCA. He played football here at Lycoming in the 80s on some really good teams. And so he's a LICO grad. He's now on the board of trustees. And I reached out to him. His name's Mark. I said, Mark, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I want to go to school. I grew up 2 blocks from Lycoming College. I said, I want to go back to school. I want to attempt to play college football, and I want it to happen at Lycoming. And yeah, he thought I was nuts, so I understandably so. I mean, I'm not caught off guard by that, but he said, well, let me get a hold of Coach Clark and I'll get back to you. So he got back to me, and I ended up ultimately talking to Coach Clark, and we ended up meeting at a Starbucks for about an hour and had a really good conversation. And he understood I was very serious about this. And he said, what position would you like to play? And I said, boy, I'd love to play tight end. I'd love to give that a shot. And he said, well, I got 3 senior tight ends that can all catch the ball. I'm like, okay, defensive, I'd like to try defensive end. And again, I have no organized football experience. He said, all right, we agreed to end. Well, when I ended up ultimately getting here to camp, I ended up being worked in at nose tackle. And that's a tough occupation in there.
Yeah.
But even before that, I'll back up a hair. I called my buddy Dave on the phone one day because, I mean, this was not an easy decision. Did I want to do it? Absolutely. But there's still, there's times in your life where you get right to the threshold and you can't put that foot through the door. And I think everybody can relate to that, and I called Dave one day and I said, Dave, I don't know, maybe I'm having second thoughts. I said, this is a massive risk for me financially. I said, it's a risk for me physically, and it's a risk for me academically. I said, it's been 41 years since I've been in a classroom. And to Dave's credit, this conversation ultimately, played a major role in all this. He said, Tom, look, he says, I know you're nervous academically, and it's been a while. He said, look, just sit up front, take great notes. If you have questions, ask them, and stay awake, And he says, you'll develop study habits and routines, academically. He says, you'll be okay there. He said, I'm confident of that. he said, financially, he says, I know it's a big risk for you. He says, I get it. And I know you're nervous about that. He said, but I just feel like everything will work itself out. He says, yeah, are you concerned with finances? Yes. He said, but the only thing in this life that has any real value to it is time. And he says, how are you going to use this time? And then he said, as far as physically, yeah, there's a risk. I mean, you're 58 and you're going to go play college football. Of course, there's a risk. He said, but you could slip in the shower, you could fall in a set of steps. He says, if you really want to do this, Tom, he says, I want to encourage you to do it. And after we hung up, I said, okay, I'm going for it. I've been in that position, like I said a couple minutes ago, where you have self-doubt, or you might think they're going to make fun of me, or you hold yourself back for you think you're good enough, and then all of a sudden you don't think you're good enough, and questions you kick back and forth. But after that conversation with Dave, I said, all right, screw it, I'm writing the narrative here, I'm going for it.
Now, I'm curious, and it's kind of a two-part question, I guess. The first one would be, I'm sure that like you're talking about people who were very supportive of you, but you had to have had the other where people were like, no, you're 58 and this is a real physical risk. And I'm curious how much of that you heard, and like whether it was friends or family. And then second, if there was a point where, as you're going through camp or whatever, if there was a physical point where you had that thought of, whew, I can't do this, that you kind of had to power through.
Right. Good questions, actually. Yeah. Friends and family, there were skeptics for sure. And again, understandably so. I mean, when you tell somebody, hey, I'm going to go play college football, and you're how old again? You're 58. Of course they're going to be skeptical. I did have some supporters that said, well, if anybody can pull this off, you're the guy, that people that have known me for years. And that was encouraging, honestly. But even before we got to camp, we had a Zoom with all the defensive linemen. And there were skeptics, and one of the dudes on the team, he says, I have a question for Tom. And there must have been 20 guys on the screen, or 20 guys in this meeting, if you will. And he hem-hawed around it. Probably about 6 times he hesitated. And he says, I don't know how to say this, and I really don't know what. I said, look, I finally jumped in. I said, look, just ask it. I said, you're not going to offend me. I've been waiting for it. So just get it out. And he says, Tom, can you pull this off? And why do you even want to pull this off? And I said, that's a fair question, and I said, honestly, the way I look at this, I said, the only difference between you and I is the birth certificate. I said, you're coming in to compete. I'm coming in to compete. That's the only difference. And I said, I can't wait to get going. I said, I don't know about you, but I'm ready. I'm ready to get after this. And he said, okay, fair enough. And I could get to this later, but then ultimately this guy ended up being one of my favorite teammates. What a great relationship we had. But part two is when I got to camp, and let me tell you, I came into camp in phenomenal shape. I did, like as good a shape just about as a 58-year-old can be coming into this. Like Dave helped train me, my buddy did, and I mean, a lot of soft tissue work, a lot of flexibility work, stretching, sprints. I love the weight room. It's a passion of mine, but I kind of backed off the throttle there somewhat and really focused on my conditioning and getting ready for camp. Even having said that, man alive, was it tough. It was tough. I mean, nearly 2 weeks of 12 to 14 hour days. You meet at 7 a.m. for a mandatory breakfast. And by the end of the day, it's 9:30, you're wrapping evening meetings up. And then you got to try to get a few hours sleep, and oh yeah, let's do it again tomorrow. And then the next day. So stacking days was tough.
Yeah.
And even before camp started, another friend of mine had texted me a message. It just said, "Be unbreakable." And let me tell you, I had to tap into that a few times. Like you said, you're talking 93, 94-degree days, 3.5 hour practices. And, now you got pads on, and, they're working me at nose tackle. So now here I am at 220 pounds and going up against dudes that are 280, 300 plus, and getting double teamed. And it was tough. I'm not going to lie. It was tough. And there were a few times I said, you know what? I got sweat running down my face. I'm tired. I'm hurting. And I'm thinking to myself, can I do this? Can I really get through this? Is it worth it? And I tapped into that text, be unbreakable. And there were kids that quit because it is meant to break you, as much mentally as it is physically. But I got through it. And several guys said, "Look, Tom, just get through camp." They said, once you get in season, it'll get better. I don't know if I found that to be true. But camp is no joke, man. It was tough.
And I'm also curious, just with you not having played in high school and then, being a fan of the game, but schematically, like, what was that a steep hill to climb? Just learning, the X's and O's and mechanics, the fundamentals of defensive line play.
That was Mount Everest to me, man. Honestly, you're trying to learn the terminology, the plays, the playbook. You're looking at all the printouts and stuff on the screen, and then you got to try to work it into your head and then transfer it to the field. And am I lined up in the right spot? Is my stance even right? Do I have the right gap covered? And if you play sports long enough or know enough about it, excuse me, if you're doing too much thinking, you're not going to be nearly as effective as if you just play and just go up and play. And so that was a monumental challenge for me as well, on top of the other. Obviously, the age was a challenge, and the camp and all things considered, that was a tremendous challenge as well.
How long did it take you to pick up the terminology that you could feel comfortable? Like, all right, I know what hawk means. I know what the A gap is. I know where I'm going. How long did that take you?
Oh, man, at least half a season, if not longer. I mean, some things I picked up on quicker than others, but just every week, you would have an install of some new plays. And so now you're trying to process that on top of what you're already trying to process. It was a challenge for sure.
So your season. Oh, go ahead, Ted.
I was going to ask, just because as a defensive lineman, how much did you have to rely on either the players around you or even just like a lot of times the linebackers to, even line you up or remind you about what gap or just how much did you have to rely on the people around you when it came to the mental part of it?
You asking him how Chisnell is he?
Yeah. We had a teammate who had to write L and R on his gloves to remember when to go to his left and right. So it's a version of that question, I guess.
I didn't get to that level.
Okay, good.
But I did have to rely on my teammates, when the plays called in from the sideline, I'm like, okay, where am I at here again? I did have to rely. And at nose tackle, you have to rely on a certain level of courage that if you don't have it, you better find it. Because you're basically, in essence, your role is to try to occupy one or most likely two guys, and let other people make plays. And again, at 220 pounds, it's tough.
Yeah, there's that phrase a lot of pro players talk about their welcome to the NFL moment.
Yeah.
And I know when I played in high school, my welcome to the NFL moment was the first time I got trapped. I was a defensive end and coming across the ball, and I was like, oh, I just have to stand here and this guard's going to blast me. Yeah. What was your welcome to the NFL moment? Did you have one of those?
I probably had a couple, honestly. I would say the first one was in a practice, and I kind of shot the one gap, and I thought, oh, man, I'm going to get a beat on the quarterback. Well, here come the right tackle pulling, and he's one of our bigger boys there, and then I'm like, oh, blank, oh, blank, and I didn't go down, but I took a shot. I'll tell you that. And another time we were doing 2-on-1 drills, just where exactly as it says, you know, you're going up against 2 offensive linemen and just, you know, trying to hip into it. And oh man, did I take one of them boys popped me in the ribs, and I mean just below the pads, and I thought for certain my ribs were busted. Like I got caught big time. So I would pinpoint those two as two of the more tougher scenarios I went through in the process.
Throughout the season, I didn't really pay attention to the season during the season, but you guys start out 0-4, and then homecoming hits. Moravian comes to town, and your defense throws a shutout. And that kind of turned the season around for you, and you guys finished 5-1 in your conference. You went to a bowl game. How high were the highs and how low were the lows throughout the season for you guys on the field?
You know, that 0-4 start, that was tough. The first 2 games were brutally tough losses. Right. They ease, you know, that's sports. You know, one play can swing a game one way or the other. You know, kind of like when the Yankees were just about ready to sweep the Red Sox, and then it just flipped. Remember that?
I think Max, do you remember that?
Yeah. He was telling me you were a Red Sox fan. I'm a Yankee fan, you know. So yeah.
Also a Celtic fan though, Tim. So like he's cool with us.
Yeah, right.
I love the
I can dig it.
Yeah. The first 2 games were tough, man, really tough. And then it's
Susquehanna game 2.
No.
Okay. They're a conference game. Because I saw them. Like I think they won the conference.
Yes.
I imagine they were really
tough. They're solid, man. But 0-4, and I'll tell you what. Now, again, I didn't have anything to compare it to from an organized team standpoint. Never played football, but to coach's credit, man, he seemed to work even harder. You know, great coach, and he really hunkered in, and like every day he came with purpose, and he was. And you know, and I said this before. I don't think you can fake being genuine or fake passion, and he had it, and it was on full display. And he came to practice every day with conviction, and he was really the reason for the turnaround. But you know, the guys bought in, and then we got that first win, and it took off from there. So we finished the season pretty strong.
You know, for lack of a better phrase, was there a good deal of old man trash talk from other people? And what's one or two that might, if there was, that might stick in your mind a little bit as being particularly memorable?
You know what? Honestly, I don't know if there was a real abundance of old man trash talk.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I'm telling you, you know, and I only ended up with one nickname. One guy gave me a nickname.
Okay.
And actually it stuck. And honestly, I love it. And the guys once he kind of broke it in, the guys were calling me this all the time. Sneaky T. Sneaky T. I loved it.
Sneaky T. All right.
Yeah. But I was, well, let me back up here. The trash talk kind of started up when I ended up making history with Aspercream. I became the oldest collegiate athlete to sign an NIL deal, and Aspercream had reached out. I mean, could you think of a more perfect partnership? I mean, it's a pain relief gel to, targets kind of an older audience, and they reached out and said, we ended up forming a partnership and made history together. It was pretty neat.
That's fantastic.
That is sneaky.
But sneaky T.
Football aside, I told you before, I'm a teacher, so I'm really interested now. You said you hadn't been in a classroom for 40 years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
What classes did you have? And legit, like, dude, flex, because I know what your GPA was. Like, you did awesome. How was classwork?
Well, I appreciate that. I had Old Testament, criminal justice, English comp, and the power and politics of coffee.
Love
And
college.
I would have never known, and probably you didn't either till now. Coffee is the second highest traded commodity in the world behind.
Oil?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I tell you, if this was Jeopardy, he beat you to the buzzer.
Oh, Mr. Smarty Pants. No, that's not a trust.
So, yeah, 41 years away from the classroom. Honestly, I think I was more intimidated by the academics than the football and the finances. Like I was very, very, very stressed over the prospect of returning to the classroom. And
Check this out, Tim. What was your GPA? Let everybody know.
3.75. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
7.5? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
That's
Dean's list.
amazing. That's the coolest part of your story, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm a teacher.
Honestly, I would agree with you. And on the academic side, coming into this, I wanted to make it very clear that this wasn't just a football story, that people might take that and run with it. You know, I had things I wanted to prove to myself coming into this whole process, and academics was clearly one of those things. And I made a couple goals. Was I'm going to make the dean's list. At least I told myself that. And I did not want to miss any class time. So they were two of the main goals. Now, out of all 4 classes, I missed each class one time, and I'm going to give myself a pass on that because I had been offered an opportunity to be live in studio in New York City on the Today Show. And you know, I kicked it around in my head, and I'm like, you know, I got to do this. I mean, how many times in your life would you get this opportunity? So I ended up driving to New York City. They did reserve a hotel for me, and spent the night, and then went to the studio. I'd driven in Monday night, went to the studio Tuesday morning, and this is funny. The woman I had been interacting with that got me on the show, I get there Tuesday morning, meet her backstage, and she says, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm nervous." I said, I'm live in New York City, about ready to appear on the Today Show. I'm nervous about this." And she says, "Don't be nervous." She said, "Look, this is so chill. You'll see." And she said, "Look, if it's any consolation, Allen Iverson was just here, and he said the same thing. He was nervous." Said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "Well, if Allen's okay, I guess I'll be okay. Sure." But those were the only times I had missed a class. And the dean's list, again, that was a personal goal coming into this. But then as this story started gaining some traction and then some really national, even international attention, I thought, man, you know, I got to do this, man. What a great message to put out there for anybody that has reservations of, you know, can I do something similar? Or it doesn't even have to be school. It could be something in their personal life that they've always wanted to do or wanted to try. And they held themselves back and said, "I'm good enough," and then said, "I'm not good enough," or to anybody that almost did but didn't. You know, anybody who got to the door and couldn't step through. I thought, what a great message this would be to put out there that, man, here's this guy that, you know, and let's be honest, I'll be honest, in high school, I never took schooling that serious. So I wasn't a scholar coming into this by any stretch. But I thought this would be a great message to get out there. And I'll tell you, I'm doing a lot of talking here, but the challenge for me,
Let's hear from us. Are you kidding me?
the challenge for me, or a challenge for me, was time. And I'll explain that in the sense, it was more challenging for me, the time, than any of my teammates or probably anybody else, because not only is it very demanding to be a student athlete, but God bless the SID here at the school. He was inundated with hundreds of requests, you know, radio and phone calls and Zoom and live TV and podcasts and newspapers and interviews at the practice field. And we were just inundated with requests. And behind closed doors, there were times I was ready to crack. I'll be quite frank about that. Like, what a challenge. And it sounds surreal, but here I am one night, I'm on the phone for an hour with the Wall Street Journal. And then one day at the practice field is a guy with the New York Times. And then I'm on live TV with Stuart Varney, Fox Business, and ABC, NBC, CBS, and CBS Sports was in town for 3 days. Some days, a couple times, I took my laptop to practice, put it in my locker, and when practice ended, you can't hear nothing in the locker room. Don't even try that. Guys are hooting and hollering, the music's playing. So I would take my laptop up into the press box and do Zoom or podcast, whatever, right after practice. And it was so demanding. And, then by the time you get cleaned up and get a bite to eat, it's 8:45, where's my energy, and then now you got to try to find time to do some studies. Had a guy call, he said from a newspaper a couple hours away, he says, we picked a night out. He said, can I call you? I said, sure, give me a call. He said, well, I got a meeting. Can I call at 8:30? He said, I won't even need a half hour. I said, that's fine. Call him. So I'm in bed, books all around me. I'm studying. And he calls at 8:30 on the dot, Well, it's almost 9:30, an hour later. I'm in bed with my eyes closed, still talking on the phone. And I'm like, screw the books. I'm going to bed, So what a challenge it was to not only find time to study, but to find the day-to-day energy to pull all this off. It was, again, I'm just being frank. This was a challenge on so many fronts.
Your teammates handle that, because I'm sure before you showed up, they didn't have national attention at Lycoming. Now you've got the Wall Street Journal in town. How did they handle it? Was there a little bit of a, man, why are they talking to him so much? I'm the cool guy over here.
Listen, these dudes, they loved it. Honestly, they loved it, and especially when ESPN came to town, they were digging that. So, and there was a piece on College Game Day. In fact, it was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, when your Michigan Wolverines were getting ready to play Ohio State, and but there was
last year, Tom, when we won in the shoe.
There was a piece on College Game Day, and there's a message board that encompasses the entire team, and I put a message out there to all the guys. I said, what time, and because I knew a lot of them guys would be on that piece, and so they enjoyed it. But the relationship with the guys, far and away, one of my favorite parts of this entire process. It was tremendous.
I'm curious because just hearing you talk, it sounds like you're very goal oriented. What are the goals going forward now that you've, Dean's List and you found?
Is there a sophomore year coming?
Yeah, matter of fact, the spring semester starts tomorrow, and to be frank about this, I'm stressed. It's like I'm feeling stressed all over again, if I'm being honest. And but at least I have the knowledge of I did it, and I know I can do it, and now I have a feeling of what it takes to do it. It's not going to come easy, But this is college. It's not supposed to be easy, and it's going to take work, And after the season ended, in order for me to play a little bit of catch up and try to stay ahead of the academic side, I knew I really had to hunker down. I would get a cup of coffee. I would come here to campus, which is where I'm at right now. And 5:00 a.m., I'd get a cup of coffee. I'd come up in this lobby area, and I would spend 2 to 3 hours studying. And I did that for weeks, leading up to my my finals week. And any time I had an opportunity to focus on the academics, I did it. I did not travel to road games because they only took so many to road games because of cost. And I just wasn't good enough to make the cut. And there's no shame in me saying that, but what else would you want to do on a Saturday than about 10, 11 hours watching college football, right? Well, most 85 to 90% of me wanted to do that. The other 10% said, hey, pal, let's face the reality of, you got schoolwork here to do. So on Saturdays when the team traveled, I would come to the school library and I would put anywhere from 3 to 4 hours in on a Saturday and sometimes Sunday too, just to stay on point with the academic side of this. So yeah,
that's the message I can share with my students right there. Like,
absolutely,
here's a college football.
You told me to flex on the academics. I'm flexing, man. Because I earned that, and I'm not ashamed to say that. But it didn't come easy.
I'll tell you what. I'm curious. What's on the course schedule for the spring semester?
More criminal justice, history, communications. And, the last number of weeks have caused me to kind of rethink where this could, the amount of people that have reached out, honestly, worldwide, it has been overwhelming. And I'm really going to look into communications as far as I might look into some public speaking or some motivational speaking.
Great idea.
This seems like such a great opportunity for advocacy for like learning later in life and going back to school after 30, after 40, after 50. It really seems like such a great opportunity if you pursue that.
And I'm definitely going to look into that. And I even had, I don't know, a practice run, if you will, if you want to call it that. University of Pitt Bradford is just about 3 hours from where I live. And a guy who I had done a podcast with previously, he reached out to me, and their high school conference up there, they call it the Big 30. And he said, would you come be the guest speaker at our Big 30 football banquet? I said, sure, I'd love to do it. And so I drove up there on a Sunday, and it's different. Here we are doing our thing on the screen, and and I feel pretty comfortable sitting here, talking to you guys. It was a little different setting when you're standing at a podium, and there was about 300 people, and you're staring out at all these people, and you're seeing some blank stares, honestly. And in my mind, I'm like, am I connecting with these people? But then I saw some people getting emotional, and I'm like, okay, which helped. But I would say the benefit I have to looking into this is, part of it is telling my story. This isn't something I have to study up on or brush up on. It's just, in essence, you could say I jumped on a trampoline. I took the safety net off, and I said, I'm just going to jump, and I'm going to take this leap, and wherever I land, it might hurt, but I'm going to get up. We'll see where it lands.
I found your story through TikTok, and that's I didn't even think to reach out to the SID. I just went right to you, and I'm really thankful I did, because I think your story is to me it's the story of 2025 in the world of sports, and that's just me. You're a local guy. We're both Pennsylvania guys, Tim and I. So I'm thrilled that you're here telling us your side of the story, both athletically and academically. I love that. You talked earlier that said you were a Raiders fan. So now, let's do communications now. You're the analyst. Who are the Raiders taking number one, and why?
If I'm making that pick, I'm taking Mendoza. I've seen people in the press and in the media and scouts, former scouts, whatever, or trying to pick this guy apart, but he just shows up, and not only that, he wins. And for a franchise that coined the phrase "just win, baby," I don't know. I think years ago Warren Sapp might have summed it up perfectly. He said stats are for losers, which if you're into fantasy football, you might not agree with that. but honestly, I want a guy. That's why I loved Rich Gannon years ago. You know, he just give me a guy. You don't have to look sexy or pretty out there, whatever. I want a guy that just wins, and you know, he wins. And for as much as people have tried to pick him apart, do you ever see the ball he throws? My goodness, you talk about pinpoint accuracy. And I mean,
Back shoulder
Yeah.
stuff that he does is
yeah.
that's NFL ready right there.
So I mean, as a fan, I would be perfectly honest with that pick, or on board with that pick. Yeah, so I'm okay with it. And I got to say too, people might call me crazy, but with a legitimate offense and offensive line, I think Ashton Genty could be Barry Sanders 2.0. I think he's staring down the barrel of a 2,000-yard season. I think he's that good.
Who do you, as far as the coach, do you have someone in mind? Because there are a lot of people out there that you know, there's John Harbaugh and, you know, different names being floated.
You know, I'd be good with Harbaugh. I mean, he's a proven winner. He's a proven leader. It probably will never happen. I always loved Gruden. I loved Gruden the first time. I loved him the second time. It just, you know, so I don't know where it's going to head. But
He's got a cushy job with Barstool. I don't know if he wants to get back in the league.
It's been about 23 years of some pain, if you will, by football terms. It's been a 23-year struggle, and man alive, come on, the Raider Nation, we want better. We want better than what we've been getting.
I understand I'm a Bears guy. We talked here before the show. Like, this is my one trip to the playoffs every 10 years or so. I'm afraid I'll be following Tankathon in a couple of years to see who we're going to pick in the top 5. But thank you for joining us, man. Tim, I don't know if you had any other questions, or Tom, you're welcome to hang out too.
Well,
we usually tell guests, like, we just kind of talk. You're welcome to hang as long as you want.
Can I add just a couple of things here quick, just to kind of illustrate the bond that the guys and I had forged in that locker room, and even on campus, and even off the field, away from here. One day we had a home game, and I was at my locker getting dressed, ready for the game. And one of my teammates came up and he says, Tom, he said, look, he said, I don't know if you believe in God. He says, I do. He said, you're reaching people in ways that you probably never considered. He said, I just want you to know, he said, I recently went to visit my father. He said, my father is 58 years old, just like you. And he said, my father is incarcerated. And he says, I told him about your story and about this journey that you're on. And he said, I told him that we were teammates. He said he couldn't believe that. And he said, look, my father was so inspired by what he heard. And he said he gets released in 2031 and he just can't wait for a second chance at life. And I mean, that stuff is powerful, man. You know, and I'm sitting in my locker, and it's overwhelming. You know, my eyes are filling up with tears, and
getting ready for a game, dude.
Yeah, but to hear that kind of stuff, and the fact that he was so comfortable in coming and telling me that, and he was passionate about it. So then finals week, I had just taken a final on Wednesday, which left me one more final on Thursday. I thought, you know what, I better get right back to studying for that. And I thought, you know what, I got to decompress a little bit. I got to just take a breath. So I go over to the weight room, and I go in the weight room, and there's one guy in there, one of my teammates, and he gives me a hug. He was so happy to see me. What a great dude. So about two minutes later, another teammate walks in, and he says, hey, Tom, he says, look, he says, I just want to thank you for what you did. He says, not only did you come in here and connect with a bunch of 18 to 20-year-olds of all kind of different backgrounds and impact all of us, he said, you impacted people all over the world. He says, I'm really proud of what you did. And again, now I'm tearing. These are, I call them kids. They're young men, but 18 years old. And you know, did I have an impact on people? Apparently I did. but it's been reciprocal, man. These guys have had a profound impact on me. And the last story I'll share, and this is funny. Every Monday night, 6:30 to 8 was mandatory study hall for all freshman football players or upperclassmen that didn't carry a certain GPA. So Monday nights, there was, I'm going to say about 40 to 45 dudes in there. And early on in the process, before the study hall, I'd stop and I'd get 4 small bags of beef jerky. So when I go in study hall, I'm flinging the jerky out to certain guys. And, I tried to conceal it in my backpack, but after a few weeks, I'd walk in the door and the guys were like, "What do you got, Tom? What do you got?" Yeah. So, and I tried to retain who got something the week before, so guys weren't doubling up. And before long, I started buying 6 bags. I'm like, well, geez, this is taking off, So it was fun. It's just a way to. I did, try to be intentional about having an impact on these guys, and again, as our relationship grew, it just the love we had for one another was off the charts. And so then, might have been the next to the last week of the season, we had a practice on Monday, which we didn't typically do, and it was it was brutally cold. And by the time we got in the locker room, we had maybe a half hour best to transition from the locker room over to school, which is about 3 to 4 blocks away. They're not right butted to each other. So I already had the beef jerky in my car. And I thought, well, I got enough time. I scurried out of the practice field and I went to Burger King and I got 10 burgers and a Whopper. I thought the Whopper would be the grand prize. So I get to study hall and I pulled this Burger King bag out. My goodness, you'd have thought I was the Beatles coming to America. I had one guy come up. He says, Tom, I swear. He says, Burger King is my absolute favorite. I said, here's a burger. Get out of my face. So I'm flinging burgers out and jerky. And so there was always an assistant coach in, overseeing the study hall. And I gave him the Whopper. And I said, how many guys want a Whopper? And like 20 guys threw their hand up. I said, Coach, pick out a number between 1 and 100 and keep it to yourself, So they had to guess, and then whoever was closest got the Whopper. But I always bring this stuff up just because, you know what? A lot of things that happened throughout this process, I didn't necessarily expect. But once it started gaining some traction and some steam, I was very intentional about making sure I impacted these people, and so that we would remember these moments the rest of our life. I don't know when it's going to end. I don't know how it's going to end, but I want to make sure that we remember each other for however much time we have. So
amazing.
Yeah,
that's a great. I love that. And that reminds me of my high school playing days. I was not good enough to play at IUP. IUP was like a national power, and I'm 5'8", 150 at the time. I wasn't even going to try out. So I had those kind of feelings back in high school. It's great that you're experiencing them now. I love it.
Yeah, good stuff, honestly. So I appreciate you having me on. It was
all us, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with the semester. I love hearing the story.
Yeah. The stories, it's not over. I don't know where it's ending, but it's not over. I'll say that. So stay tuned.
Like I said, Tom, you're welcome to hang. If you have to bounce, if you have to get ready for whatever you're doing the rest of Sunday. I understand we have 8 minutes until kickoff, Buffalo, Los Angeles, that I have over here on the side.
Well, I'm going to bounce, but honestly, don't hesitate to ever reach back out, and we can always revisit this and see where it goes down the road.
Thanks, man. Well, hey, we'll have Soup and Meatballs live at Lycoming next season, maybe.
That'd be awesome.
Right up the road from
Yeah. All right, man. My pleasure.
I want some beef jerky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a Whopper. Yeah, for dessert.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, man. Thank you
very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Man, that's the coolest story, man.
It really is. And I mean, we both went back to school. So like that appeals to me as much as hearing the football stuff.
I mean, I went back, like teacher school, I think wasn't anything as tough as what he was going through. Like, and we were doing it, or at least I was doing it while I still had a job too. So he was doing it with football. Super inspirational stuff. That's like TED Talk City, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. He really, hearing him say that, like being a motivational speaker in that way, I think that's a great path forward. I hope he looks into that more.
He talked a little bit about, college football, and we talked Indiana, and here we have a national championship game all set once again. Sans SEC. Now I've been told that it's because the SEC beats up on each other so much that they couldn't possibly hang with the ACC team, but.
Okay, Paul Feinbaum.
It was a Feinbaum. There was some slappy I saw on Twitter that was like, oh my God, his takes are awful. But yeah, we have Indiana, we have Miami. Earlier in the year, I don't know if you remember looking at the ESPN prognostications, they had Miami as the number one team for the longest time. Here, Indiana is the number one team, opening as a 7.5-point favorite. It's early, but what are your thoughts on the title game as we are right now?
It's really hard to pick against Indiana. They've been between what they did to Alabama and then what they just did to Oregon. It felt like they could have named their score in either game.
622 or something like that. And I don't think it was that close. Like I think they took the foot off the gas.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was like 49-7 when Oregon finally got some, just kind of garbage time touchdown. But yeah, it's while we're on the subject of people who are older than you'd expect for college football, Indiana, the average age of their starters is 23 years old. The Green Bay Packers, the average starting lineup, the average age is 25.
Well, I mean, they're going up against Carson Beck, who's in his 18th year of college football.
Well, right. So maybe he'll transfer to Indiana next fall.
And we just had a situation with I don't know if it was the quarterback. Somebody at Ole Miss was trying to get a 7th year of eligibility because he was in D2, was hurt, medical hardships, and yada yada yada. And they said no, but now they're going to go to court. That's a whole thing. But this Indiana team,
there's been a lot of
this Indiana team reminds me so much of the 23 Michigan team. They have a quarterback that just wins. They've got a really strong running attack. They've got a sneaky passing, like their wideouts and the tight end. Like they're sneaky good. Like they're names you don't expect to hear.
Yeah,
and they're strong defensively. That I don't know if there's a weakness on this team.
Yeah, all three phases they're really strong, and you're right. Mendoza reminds me of a better version of JJ McCarthy, just in terms of he's a better passer than McCarthy was. McCarthy, they're pretty comparable as runners. McCarthy might have been a hair better, but yeah, they just win. And Cignetti beating Oregon, that was his 26th win at Indiana. That's a record in Division I history for most wins in the first 2 years of a coaching tenure ever.
And I see people on TikTok angry. They're like, "What took so long for this guy to get a job?" I don't know. He was at IUP for a while. Hang out in the Grove.
I saw some people who've kind of posited that just something about his personality can be a little grating, and that may But there are a lot of
Jim Harbaugh had that issue, and he worked out okay. Oh my gosh, he's the antithesis of warm and fuzzy. I don't remember what your confidence ratings were, and obviously you had less confidence in in some teams than Tulane.
I had Indiana 3.
Legitimately, I had Indiana 3rd. I had Miami 10th. So
yeah, I had my look. We're talking about a Miami team and I said this before we were texting before the Ole Miss game. This is a Miami team that lost to SMU and to Duke. Like, they're wildly inconsistent. And they were good through September and early October, and then you didn't know what Miami team you were going to get from
game they played was the last game they played against Ohio State. Against Ole Miss rather. I'm sorry. When they handed the ball off, that offensive line just bulldozed the Ole Miss D line. Like, I'm telling you, you could have put Vince Wilfork, Larry Allen, whoever that big dude was for the Packers back in the day. You could have put these. You could have put all of them on the D line. That Miami offensive line was just clearing a path.
And the speed they have at receiver, especially when they were running those tunnel screens against Ole Miss. I mean, when they're firing on all cylinders, they're lethal. But I just don't know that they can.
Media stories, I think. I think the media was going to win either way. I mean, you either have Ole Miss in the final without Lane Kiffin, possibly bringing glory back to the SEC, or you have, the whole Miami doesn't belong in the title in the playoffs because, Notre Dame, yada, yada, yada. You have that. I think that the big thing now, if Indiana shuts the door and goes, are they 16-0 right now, or are they 15-0? I don't know their total. I don't know their record right now.
I think they're either 13 or 14-0. I can't remember now.
That's what we have the buttons here for. College football playoff. IU grows as title game favorite. They open. I'm going to click on that thing. The line must have gotten bigger, but that's how people bet.
Right, and then a bunch of money will flood to Indiana until it starts.
Indiana's 15-0 right now. They win.
Oh,
they go 16-0. They're in talks. Is this the best season ever?
Yeah, I mean, I was getting those texts as they were, just destroying Oregon.
And I told people, I said, look, they won by 10 in Eugene. I think the line was only 3.5. I'm like, dude, bet the farm on Hoosier. Bet the farm on Hoosier. They're like, no, it's.
I think if we're talking, because there's some talk about, is this the greatest college team of the 21st century? I think if we line this Indiana team up against that Joe Burrow LSU team, or some of the Saban Alabama teams with Derrick Henry or Eddie Lacy, I don't think Indiana beats those teams. I don't think they beat the Ken Dorsey Miami teams of the early 2000s.
That Hurricane team that had like 26 NFL players on it.
Yeah, but that's not to say this is still an outstanding team, and I fully expect them to win.
I think I've seen it on Michigan boards. How would they do against the 23 Wolverines? I think it'd be a good game. I think Michigan has pros all over the field on that team. We'll find out. I'm sure Indiana does too.
Now, I'm curious. Can you think of a and obviously college football's changed drastically. But can you think of a comparison for what Indiana has done from being perhaps the worst major conference program for decades, and in 2 years now
they are like Antoine Randall L. Like they flirted with mediocrity. No,
they were decent in the late 80s. They had a Heisman finalist. Anthony Thompson was a running back the year Andre Ware won it. But like those are far and few between.
I mean, it would take longer to think about than, I want to think here, but they're right up there.
I mean, is the only comparison I can think of is when Butler
went like in basketball too. Oh no. But see, Butler wasn't bad. Butler was making the tournament back then.
Right. They were a decent mid-major.
I don't think Indiana was making bowl games in the 90s. Or the 2000s, when all you had to do was like have a pulse.
Yeah, Indiana was a gimme on the schedule for, again, decades.
If that half court shot goes in and Butler beats Duke, that's a wild.
They're turning it into a Disney movie.
Exactly. No, I don't know if Indiana's a Disney movie, but When is that final? January 19th. So like
19.
we can preview it more in depth next week. The one thing that I thought was at least worth talking about. Yeah, I was talking to Tom about this before you chimed in. The transfer portal in college football is, wow, it's nuts. I think I saw a statistic, something like 32% of all D1 players will hit the transfer portal this offseason. I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing, or just a thing, but the way that this system is working, where kids are basically on a 1-year opt-out contract, I don't know if that's a good thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good thing either. I think we need a happy medium where we have players who have flexibility, and certainly a system where players get paid. But the current system's broken, where we have players who are playing 6 years in college for 6 different teams or 5 different teams. It's untenable. I don't think it can sustain.
He never
itself.
talks about this, and Tom brought it up. His semester starts tomorrow, which means if you wanted to transfer to Lycoming, you had to get this done weeks ago. Well, weeks ago, you're still in the class.
Yeah.
So I remember, was it last year, Penn State's backup quarterback went to Missouri, and all the Penn State fans were up in arms because they were losing their backup during the playoffs, and they thought, how could he possibly leave us? Because Missouri had enrollment where he had to get in. So I think you have to look at a system where we don't take 3 weeks off after the end of the season. I think you have to scrap the conference championships because they're a waste of time, and you have to get right into the playoffs. And I mean, if you're going to keep 12, that's whatever. Obviously, all over the radio, people are talking about how they're going to go to 16 eventually. Let's just have 128. We'll start the playoffs in September. I mean,
I think the playoff as it is, but I say this every time there's a new system. Like when people were complaining about the BCS, I was like, I don't hate the BCS. I think the system as it is fine.
I always advocated for 6. I think 12 probably is too many. But you know what? Tulane and James Madison give Oregon a bye week in the first week. That's whatever. I'm happy with 12. If you want to go to 16, I mean, we're going to argue 16, 17, 18. We're going to argue those teams and who's going to get throttled by, the Georgias or Ohio States of the world next year.
To me, it's fun that you look at the teams that have gotten the bye the
1
last
and
2
7.
years. And yeah, exactly.
Because they've taken 4 weeks off. Like, it's the epitome of rust versus rest. And the teams that have beaten them, they're not bad football teams. It's like they're playoff caliber teams. But I looked, Michigan is doing pretty well in the portal. Yeah.
The portal.
Andrew Marsh is coming back to Michigan. This is funny. Apparently his mom irritated the Oklahoma staff and they rescinded their offer. So way to go, Mom. Michigan lost Justice Haynes. I think odds on he's going to go to Georgia Tech. And that's what the word on the street is.
That's what I thought. Yeah, he's the Georgia kid who Georgia Tech's been.
But, I mean, he came up from Alabama. He had a good year. And you look at the room, Jordan Marshall's back. They have a freshman coming in, Hyder coming in. They got the number 1 running back in the portal from Oklahoma as well. So, like, it's a stacked room. Losing Justice Haynes is a bummer, but, but maybe the biggest portal story, I don't know if you saw this. This was just a couple days ago. The quarterback from Washington, Amon Williams Jr., he signed a multi-million-dollar deal to return to Washington, but then LSU comes around and is like, we got more money. He had signed the deal with Washington, and Washington's like, we're going to take you to court. You're going to take a student athlete to court. But he signed with them. Like, that's the part that's like, we got to figure this out.
Right. And I don't know what the answer is if you have like some sort of like commissioner dedicated to only this.
Because basketball might have its own issues that I just don't pay attention to yet.
Yeah. But this between what you're talking about with the Penn State backup who had to put in to transfer to Missouri while Penn State's still playing its season, and you're talking about players basically, being auctioned off to the highest bidder.
And here's the other thing: Jake Butt, our friend, the tight end at Michigan, he said this. He's like, "Look, this money isn't unlimited. At some point, the money dries up because donors aren't going to be like, well, here's $5 million for the opportunity to win. Like, at some point, like people who have this kind of money want return on investment, and there's only one champion every year. So eventually, these massive deals, like Bryce Underwood comes out of high school and gets a $20 million deal, has never taken a college snap before. That's untenable. That's not going to last."
Yeah, I'm trying to even think of a comparison here of like, it's not a sports comparison, but it almost reminds me of the housing market, the housing bubble of the mid 2000s, that we're getting to a point where players are being offered money that they will never, in 10 years, this will be like, do you remember when? Because the bubble's going to burst.
I'll tell you what, you know whose bubble burst? You want to know whose bubble burst? Green Bay's bubble burst.
Yeah, good thing you got a text from somebody.
Oh my God! Oh,
dude,
huh? I can't tell you how. Oh boy! I watched the whole game and I never lost faith. Now, let me tell you something. The Bears' first half. I don't know if they played a worse first half all season. And then you say, like, Jordan Love is an average quarterback who, whenever he plays Chicago, looks like a superstar. He looks like Peyton Manning had a baby with Tom Brady and named it Joe Montana. Like,
he is to you what Kirk Cousins was to the Eagles. When Kirk Cousins was in Washington, he would play like you should start making his bust for Canton at halftime. He was unstoppable.
We were very fortunate that they fumbled the ball as much as they did because 4 touchdowns from Love, 300-plus yards passing, without turnovers. We were not in that game. And that missed field goal near the end, and that was like a chippy. The winds were blowing, man. The winds were blowing away. I'll tell you, when Green Bay scored their last points, and I told you, cue up Slick, turn out the lights, the party's over. I really thought the party was over. But Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams he's streaky, and the pass he threw on 4th down, what a play! And Colson Loveland, our Michigan guy, he had a heck of a game.
Yep,
he was really everywhere.
Yeah, Williams is so frustrating where he throws that one interception, which was right to the safety.
The one are you talking about the 4th down one at the end of the half? That was a punt. That was fine. I think that might have been on the receiver. He might have zagged and he should have zigged or whatever. But when he was tackled at the 10, I thought to myself, if they're not going to kick a field goal, it's too long. If you punt, you're really only picking up 20 yards because it's going to be a touchback. So the interception at the 10, good tackle by the receiver. I looked at that. That was a punt. The other interception that he threw, a different story.
So now I'm curious, as a Bears fan, what are your expectations going forward now?
House money right now. Because going into the season, I told you I would have been happy with 9 wins because that's an improvement. Now that they're in the playoffs, you get selfish. Like, you think you have a chance to win a game. We're going to take a timeout though from the Bears because we're fortunate enough we have Steeler guy right here. Hang on, I told you we might have 2 guests. It's the voice of the Steelers. And since the Steeler game is tomorrow, we're going to get a prediction or at least some inside information from Pittsburgh himself. Jason Macko, how are you, my man?
Oh, fantastic. Senor Gemelli, great to see you. Absolutely fantastic. I am actually about to run to the store to get myself prepped Tomorrow, I will be on our wonderful Steeler bus at 4 p.m. heading down to the field.
Are you going to the game?
Oh, absolutely. For those that don't know, Steelers season ticket holder, have been through all the ups and downs over particularly this Tomlin era. There is a lot of exciting hype here in Pittsburgh. A lot right now. Every talking head is now over and beyond thinking the Steelers are going to take this game. I tend to agree, maybe not quite as hopeful, but I do really think that it's going to be a great game.
Here it is. So you got Houston coming in, number one defense in all of football.
100%.
Earlier in the year, preseason, I asked you, as a Steeler guy, what were your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? And I have to go back into the annals of Soup and Meatballs to see what you said, but it wasn't exactly like it wasn't flowers and roses. How has Pittsburgh's attitude towards Rodgers changed throughout the season?
It certainly was not flowers and roses. There was a lot of skepticism based on his last few years of performance. I will tell you right now, there's a lot of talk in Pittsburgh about wanting Rodgers back for another season, which is even more incredible. How the tides have turned. I will say one of the things that you hear a lot, talking heads media-wise across all annals of it, is a lot of people are projecting that he might run a little loose in this game. He was very concerned throughout the season, not wanting to take the hits and those types of things. And people are like, maybe he's going to put his body on the line here, and maybe you see a little bit more out of him. And I think that could happen. But I do think that he's playing his best game. I think that he actually probably could have produced more. That we have a bunch of new receivers too, in case people aren't following some of the folks. Valdez, Scantling, Thielen. Those types of folks. He's been throwing to a lot of guys, particularly DK Metcalf, out that haven't been some of the highest talent receivers, and he's actually still been able to do pretty well besides the Cleveland game, which was absolutely horrible. But he's actually produced with very little, and I think with DK back, I think it's going to make a big difference.
I think Will Anderson's going to have a little bit to say about whether or not he takes hits this weekend or tomorrow, rather.
Right.
Overall prediction, you think you have Pittsburgh winning this one?
I do. I actually, in all transparency, I already put the bet on the money line at plus 142 on DraftKings. So for me, I have them locked in. I truly do. And I'll give you this as a key takeaway. What you saw against the Ravens probably won't happen here.
You're not getting the holy water out in the end zone?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they're doing that or not. I don't know if you've seen the memes about the water trucks of holy water that they're bringing in. I thought that was quite comical.
The Bears have the Pope. You can have your bishops or whatever. We've got the Pope.
I love it. Fantastic. But I will say this, something to keep an eye on. Where the Steelers have struggled this season is whenever we have to sell out, quote unquote, for the run. You have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson for the Ravens, and it forced our secondary to play down and sell out and gave up a couple 50-yard plus touchdown passes. You won't see that with Woody Marks and the Texans. So us being able to play a more kind of standard-based defense is really going to be beneficial for the Steelers, and I truly think that we can shut down their offense. The struggle, I think, that may come into play is, to your point, that amazing defense by the Texans. Can our offense and can Arthur Smith, our offensive coordinator, get his own head out of his ass long enough to be able to have enough strong plays in the playbook versus a lot of the wasted plays that we typically have? And can DK Metcalf stretch that field a little bit to give us a chance to kind of get some of those downfield passes? But those are probably a couple of big questions and kind of the things that I'll be keeping an eye on.
And the line give him time.
That's right. That's right. And I'll tell you, our offensive line, that was another question mark coming into the season. We've had a couple key pieces come in, like Cook and a couple others who have really gelled. Our offensive line has done well, but also Aaron Rodgers, going back to him for a second, he gets the ball out extremely fast. He doesn't want to take the hits. He knows that the pressure is going to be coming. And another note that a lot of people are saying here in Pittsburgh, by the way, is that Houston plays very base standard defense scheme, and that Rodgers maybe with time can probably pick that apart a little bit versus like a Ravens who scheme and design a lot of different things. I think it'll be interesting.
You see Baltimore twice a year. You can't expect Houston to come in with the same stuff in the playoffs, and if you do, you're in trouble. Like the Bears-Packers, they threw different stuff at Chicago than they did in the regular season. So, all right, so here you got it. You got it here on Soup and Meatballs, the voice of Pittsburgh, the the lunacy that is Steeler fan. Good luck to you, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to make for a long week kicking it off. And again, another problem being a Pittsburgh fan in general is that we have a lot of primetime games. So these Sunday night, Monday nights, those types of things. It makes for long school nights and school and work days the next day, right? So so we always have those. And as soon as we saw the schedule on Monday night game. Now, another fun stat, right? I'll leave you with this for those that might be looking for reasons to maybe think about the Steelers. Under Mike Tomlin, Monday nights, the Steelers are 22-3. 22-3 under Mike Tomlin on Monday night games.
Are you one of the guys who wants to fire Mike Tomlin? Just asking.
I'm not, actually.
Okay.
I'm not. And although in our home field we have heard the chants, there's a lot of people. And again, listen, 19 years is a long time, right? It's a long time. You just saw what happened with Harbaugh, that kind of thing. And I don't know if you saw the memes. If that field goal would have made it through, Tomlin was fired. If it missed, Harbaugh was fired. That was a thing. But to go along with the 22-3 to wrap this, the Steelers have not lost at home on Monday night since 1991. Just throwing it out there into the universe, and I'll leave you with that.
Man, Jason Mago, thanks for popping in. I know you're having a busy weekend. There they are.
Absolutely. Hey, thank
Good
you,
talking to you, brother.
Fantastic.
Be good.
Hopefully, I'll be back on with you next week celebrating.
I will invite you back on. You've less to do, my man, either Saturday or Sunday. There it is, Tim. So we have a real quick pop in. He said he was busy this weekend, but I said, dude, just pop in for 5 minutes because we had his notes earlier in the year as Steelers fan about Rodgers, and I thought, man, I wonder what he thinks now. So there it is.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was curious too if he was a pro or anti-Tomlin guy because that's a great point about that field goal really deciding one or the other, the two longest tenured coaches in the league. I think I texted you that I don't want John Harbaugh taking the Giants job because I think he kind of lost that locker room in Baltimore, the same way that Andy Reid lost his in Philadelphia.
We'll get there. We have coaching coming up down the line, so that's okay. Back to where we were before Pittsburgh came in.
Yes.
One of the things I thought about, going into the NFC now is house money. Who do I want to see in the divisional round? If the Eagles win, we have a Soup and Meatballs Bowl here in the divisional playoffs. Philly comes to Chicago, and if the not Wash, it's the Niners. I thought it was the Commanders. No. If the Niners win, we'll get the Rams. And I don't want to say this in a mean way. I think the Bears have a better shot at beating the Eagles than they do of beating the Rams because of the Rams' passing attack and how just bad the Bears defense looked against Green Bay.
I would agree with that just because of how inconsistent the Eagles' running game is and how you don't know what you're going to get out of that offense in general. The line's been Swiss cheese. The thing I think that opponents are most scared of with the Eagles right now is the defense, to be honest.
And
I think Vic Fangio and the way he schemes and the personnel that he has is the scariest thing about this Eagles team right now.
The weather up in Chicago next weekend, you don't know what day it's going to be, Saturday or Sunday, but it's likely a high of around 26, no snow. So I think I'd rather see Philadelphia than the Rams passing attack, but I'm just kind of happy to be there at this point right now, really. I mean, I think like Washington felt last year, like, hey, look at this. We got a rookie quarterback, and, if they upset Detroit, the Bears are playing a home game as long as they don't crap the bed like they did in the first half yesterday. Play respectable. That's what I'm hoping for.
If the Eagles go to Chicago, just reinforce the uprights because forecasters are saying extra chance of doinks.
Speaking of which, if you're paying attention, the Bills are driving right now against the Jaguars near the end of the first quarter. Nothing still.
Yeah. The Bills had started the game like inside the 10. I didn't see what happened with that drive.
They didn't score. So the other game today we have Chargers Patriots.
Philly and
at the night game.
Primetime.
Eagles Niners, man. What are your thoughts going in, man? How you feeling?
If the Eagles offense is going to look good, it's going to be against the 49ers defense. If the Eagles at home can't score 24 at least against this 49ers team, they don't deserve to advance.
Yeah, you had said that, and I tend to agree with that. Will they?
Yeah. I know it's been a common theme throughout the season, but I really believe it comes down to how involved A.J. Brown is.
Yes.
Can you throw the man a crossing pattern? Can you get him on a slant? Can you do anything but throw him on a go route? The guy, he's 230 pounds of muscle. Get him a crossing pattern and let him do the rest. That's where he's best on, a 50-50 jump ball or going across the middle and muscling his way, just overwhelming defensive backs.
Catches for Brown, plus or minus 5.5.
Sadly, I think minus.
Yep. Well, he could go 5 for 96 and a score, and maybe that's what
and honestly, though, even if and it's the point that AJ's kind of been making throughout the season, even if they target him, even if he doesn't get 5 or 6 or 7 catches, if that just opens things up for, Grant Calcaterra and Jahan Dotson and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, just get some of those other weapons, throw get Saquon. He's been underutilized in the passing game. He's a fantastic pass catching running back. So even if Brown doesn't put the numbers, if he just commands extra attention, that opens up opportunities for other weapons.
I think Philly wins. I think it's probably a closer game than maybe people think. The Bears played the Niners tough in San Francisco. It was a really, really, really high scoring game.
Yeah, big shootout.
I don't know. I kind of see this one like 20-17, 23-20, something like that. I think it's a little closer. And I don't know what the over under is. I could look it up, but
I think it's going to be a little less scoring too. I'm with you where I think the score I'd said was 23-16, something like that.
Come on now, give me the playoff bracket, producer. If we look at, I don't understand how people put the NFC and AFC on either side. Plus or minus, we're looking at 44.5. So I'm looking at the under, but what do I know?
Yeah, but I mean, still, Vegas likes it to be like 22-19, 22-20, something like that.
The other game, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers going to New England. This is an interesting game for me, man, because like the Patriots feel like they're back, and Drake may quite possibly be the league's MVP this year. And the Chargers started the year, they were really hot. Then they've had ups and downs. They remind me of like Coming when Tom was talking. They started down and they went up. So if anybody can win a road game across country, because that's another thing you got to think about. I don't know. I like Harbaugh on the Chargers. I think it's more because I'm rooting for them.
I think the most interesting thing here for me is, with quarterbacks, we talk about legacy. What is this going to mean for Justin Herbert, who hasn't been able to get it done? I go back to that game they had against Jacksonville in the playoffs a couple of years ago where it looked like they were cruising and they got upset by Jacksonville. Can Justin Herbert get off the schneid a little bit?
I like I said, I'm rooting for them just probably because of Harbaugh. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's who the media is rooting for. We're going to switch things up a little bit if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
We thought about, if we were in the media, because, well, we are, who do you think they're rooting for to make the Super Bowl story-wise? Because there's always a story in every Super Bowl, but, what would be the best story for you? I will let you go first. I have 5, and they're all still officially possible.
Mine are all possible as well, and I'm going to start just because of we would hear so much about the defenses. Broncos Seahawks. Obviously, number one seeds, which I'd have to think. What's that?
Wouldn't be a shock then.
Right, but just in a season where we've talked about how quarterback numbers are down and scoring's down a little bit and offensive numbers are down across the board in the league. I think we'd see a lot of think pieces about if the pendulum swung back toward defense in the NFL.
You expected this entire playoff to be defensive minded, so that would make sense.
Yeah, well, and I thought that with college football too, and then Indiana goes out there and runs the 50 burger.
Up on the Ducks. Man, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm gonna go half and half. I think the media might have a fun time with Houston and the Rams, because Houston has the best defense statistically, and then on the other end, so it's not defense versus defense, it's defense versus Matthew Stafford, who leads the league in passing, in touchdowns, and yards per game. He's only been sacked 23 times this year, and Houston gets after quarterbacks. I think that could be like, you ever watch the show with they run plays like 7:00 on Sunday morning, and like they break down plays, NFL Countdown or Breakdown or whatever it is. Those people would just break apart those kind of matchups in an amazing way, I think.
Yeah, it would obviously be a great contrast. And I really think that Houston team, despite what we heard, I think they're going to be a tough out.
We'll see.
I wouldn't want to play them.
I would, because that means you made the Super Bowl.
Well, but yeah.
Next one.
My next one, I'm going to go with, a lot of times when we talk about what the media wants in a Super Bowl matchup, it's quarterback matchups. And I think the media would eat up a Bills-Rams. Just, Josh Allen, does he finally get that ring? We talk about legacy like I just did with Herbert. And then with Stafford, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about him being league MVP. When he beat the Bengals a few years ago, people seemed to, that anointed him into being a Hall of Famer. A second ring would cement him.
Yeah.
Not only a Hall of Famer, but like maybe a first ballot guy.
No. And you're not wrong. It's a quarterback-driven league, and you get two big names like that. Not that the Super Bowl needs to sell tickets, but yeah, that would be. And plus, the Bills just getting their period against anybody. You could talk about, this is the must-win year because Lamar's not there, Mahomes isn't there.
They would drag out all the guys from the 90s to talk about, what it would mean for the franchise. They'd have Jim Kelly, back flipping through a table.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the Bills, they're up 3-0 as the first quarter is coming to a close. For my number 4, I'm going to assume that the Bills don't make the Super Bowl because they lose this game. I'm going to say that the media might eat up a Jaguars-Panthers Super Bowl, which I guess is not possible now because the Panthers are out.
Yeah, the expansion angle.
Both teams starting in 93 and officially playing in 95. I figured you could get Steve Berline and Rod Smith to be the captains, and the Tony Baselli and Kerry Collins, the very first round draft picks, could flip the coin or whatever. I obviously made my list during the week. I thought that storyline at least might have been something to pay attention to off the field.
Yeah, and the last, not the last time, but the first time the Panthers were in the Super Bowl, I should say, we had an exposed nipple, so Bad Bunny would have to give us a little top floor action. He might anyway. Unfortunately, even though I kind of would have liked to have seen the Panthers beat the Rams yesterday, we're not going to get that one. My next one is Chargers-Niners. Just with Harbaugh having coached San Francisco in a Super Bowl, Harbaugh back trying to get that first ring and being, in that exclusive club of guys who've won a national title and a Super Bowl ring. We saw it when the Niners were there before the the story of Brock Purdy being Mr. Irrelevant and could become a Super Bowl champion. I think there's a lot of goodwill around Christian McCaffrey and wanting to see him get a ring. So I think that would just be, and also San Francisco would be playing in their home stadium.
Can I tell you a secret?
Is that your number one?
No, that's next on my list.
Okay.
I thought it'd be like with so many combinations. What are the odds? No, but yeah, Harbaugh playing against his former team. I didn't think about the Niners playing at home.
Yeah, it's in Santa Clara this year.
Okay, I mean that you don't need that kind of juice for a Super Bowl. But yeah, it's there, and the whole Brock, the last quarterback pick against a guy like Justin Herbert, who was a first rounder. You could have those kind of comparisons. But I think Harbaugh versus San Francisco did it for me.
Yeah, that would be just
kind of left on weird terms. And
yeah, the ownership kind of forced him out a little bit. He wanted more say in personnel, and the GM was like, well, there's the door.
That would be that's a wild one. Good to root for. So what's your two?
My two is a repeat of Super Bowl 20, Patriots Bears. Is that your next one?
Yes. I love it. Yeah, no.
It's
just for Super Bowl 20.
It's two glamour franchises historically, and also,
except our defense now is nothing like 85. Let's get that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Mike Singletary currently might be better than any linebacker you have on the roster.
Wrong. You are not wrong.
But also just like the irresistible storyline of two second-year quarterbacks facing off for a title when you have May and Williams. That would give people plenty to talk about on Media Day.
Tell you what, the more I see Ben Johnson on TikTok, Ben Johnson is a trash talker.
He did it at his introductory press conference.
What's that?
He was talking trash at his introductory press conference.
Which worries me a little bit, but hey, you're in the divisional round, so you back it up. But yeah, we pull out Ditka's and the super fans. That would be we'd move it to New Orleans. Heck with Santa Clara.
Yeah, we'd either have people in like the Ditka sweater vests, like the '80s sweater vest, or Belichick cut off sleeve hoodies.
Yeah, I love it. So that was my two,
and we might have the same number one.
I'll give you my one. It's the All Pennsylvania Bowl.
That's my number one as well.
You have the defending champs. Any time the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champs are back in the Super Bowl for a repeat, that's just media heaven right there. And you'd have the scrappy upstart Steelers who needed the blessings of the Catholic Church for the Ravens to miss a field goal, so they made the playoffs. And if you're the Steelers getting through, first of all, Indy, and then the Pittsburgh would, depending on the other matchup, they might have to play at Foxborough, which, let's be honest, Pittsburgh has had nightmares in Foxborough in recent history. And then a trip to Mile High, that's a heck of a gauntlet to go through to make it to a Super Bowl to only face the team right down the turnpike from you.
And, I mean, obviously the irresistible storyline of Aaron Rodgers trying to get that second ring in his 40s. And it truly might tear the state apart.
Can we move the game to Beaver Stadium?
Yeah, right. And there have been a couple times where it seemed like this might happen, where I remember the first time the Andy Reid Eagles were in the NFC Championship against the Rams and the Steelers played the Patriots, or in 2004 when the Eagles couldn't quite get there and the Steelers went and beat the Seahawks.
There was the year Pittsburgh played the Packers. I don't know how close Philadelphia was that year. That was the year I openly rooted for Pittsburgh. I bought a LaMar Woodley jersey.
I believe that might have been the Eagles' dream team year. The Nnamdi Asomugha, like Vince Young is back up.
Those are the days. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, it's funny that we had the same top three.
Yeah.
When you have so many different blends that you could come up with. We're media guys. That's how we think. So, what Super Bowl are you looking for? Let us know. Because
the Eagles versus anybody.
Well, you got to get through Chicago first. Actually, you got to get through San Francisco first. But couple things that I used to be in this position. Looking at the first round, who are the mock drafts? There's 8 teams out there right now looking for a head man right now. And on a regular show, a daily show, this is easily the top story. Guys like John Harbaugh out of a job. It might have been one of those mutual things, but like on Wednesday's morning shows, they kept reiterating he was fired, let go. Wasn't even like part of the decision.
Not even face to face. He was apparently let go over the phone.
So 19 years in, and as successful a head coach as is out on the market right now, we'll start with him, and then I'm going to ask you, rank the jobs that are opening. Where do you think Harbaugh ends up, and what do you think the best job out there is?
So from all the reporting that I've read, it seems like the 2 he's most interested in are New York and Tennessee.
Okay.
Like I was saying before, I do not want to see him in the NFC East because I think he could have an Andy Reid style revival to the back half of his career.
Even with the Giants ownership.
Yeah, I think the first thing they would have to do is struggle a little bit and get rid of Joe Shane as their GM.
Yeah.
But I do think he could build a consistent winner there. And I don't need that stuff in my division.
I don't want that Harbaugh in my life.
Right. So if
his brother wants him in the NFC, I don't.
Yeah. So if he wants to go to the AFC South and try to mentor Cam Ward, more power to him. If we're talking
really
about
been tied to Tennessee,
those are the 2 jobs. He's apparently been watching film of Jackson Dart and Cam Ward to see which position is the one he'd prefer.
So I was thinking Atlanta might be
I think Atlanta's the best position.
Because Penix isn't. He's not a great quarterback, but he's not bad, and he could get better.
And Bijan Robinson
got some pieces, and let's be honest, the NFC South is wide open. Like, you can come in right away and compete. The other job that was really, really interesting because it just opened up the other day was Miami. Now, I don't know if you want to play Buffalo and New England twice a year, but like you have 1 year where you've got to figure out the quarterback situation. You got to get rid of Tua. You got to eat a massive cap hit or dead money hit, whatever you call it. You look at Denver as the template for doing that. You hit on a first-round quarterback. You hit on Bo Nix, and you can survive the cap hit then. But Miami next year, if you look at their salaries and the way their contracts were next year, they are a very, very enticing job if you want better weather than New York.
Now, I'm curious, what do you think is going to happen with Mike McDaniel? Do you think he has coordinator written on him, or do you think he gets another head coach?
I think a lot of head coaches, Harbaugh's probably the opposite of this. I think if you're a young head coach, you might have to take a step into coordinatordom, kind of like Matt Nagy was with Kansas City, then he coached the Bears, then he went back to Kansas City. Matt Eberflus with the Bears took a coordinator job in Dallas, and thanks to the trade of Micah Parsons, the Dallas defense was like 30th in the league, and he got fired. It's not his fault. They had injuries and they traded their best player. But I think I think you're probably looking at a coordinator job a year or two, and then you see.
I'm still curious, and it's a name that I haven't seen out there, but I just love the guy. Doug Peterson is a guy who's won a Super Bowl in the last decade, who then was kind of hamstrung by ownership in Jacksonville. I wonder if his name gets floated at all.
Do you know what he's doing now?
Watching the Jaguars-Bills game.
7-3 Jags. He is a free agent. He's been exploring opportunities, considering roles like an offensive consultant for the Eagles, maintaining ties in Florida to his family. He's focusing on real estate. He owns property in Jupiter, Florida. So maybe Miami.
All right, Doug. Live your life, Doug.
What do you consider the number one open job out there? There's 8 of them. I'll tell you where SI has them ranked.
Okay. Baltimore's number 1.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what else do we have? We have New York, Cleveland, Atlanta, Tennessee, Vegas.
They're all there. They're on the list.
So after Baltimore,
that's what we said. And
Atlanta.
Atlanta is, in fact, SI's number 2. I kind of agree with this list now that I'm looking at it.
I think the Giants might be 3.
They've got a quarterback. That's what you look for. You got a quarterback. You got some weapons on the offense. If Scattaboo comes back healthy, yeah, Giants 3.
I'm gonna say
Dolphins 4. Yeah, and I like the Dolphins 4, but you have to go into 2026 realizing you're probably going to compete more for the number 1 pick than you are for the playoffs. I think, and once you can figure out the quarterback situation, you can make some noise in 27.
So now, who am I missing? Vegas, Cleveland,
Arizona,
Tennessee. Okay, Vegas, Cleveland, Arizona, Tennessee. Vegas is last.
Vegas is not 8.
They're wrong. Vegas is terrible.
They hit on Mendoza. Maybe they're not terrible. They do have the number 1 pick this year.
And I think I'm going to put Tennessee 5.
Tennessee's 5. Yeah, I love it.
I'm going to put Cleveland 6.
Yep, Cleveland's 8 for them.
All
they
right,
have Arizona 6.
I go Cleveland 6, Arizona 7, Vegas 8.
There it is. So I mean that's what SI has as their top jobs right now.
That was written by AI. SI is.
You were close to it.
Well, I'm basically AI.
We haven't had an AI feature on the show in a while, so next week we'll have to put something together. I don't know.
I'm going to hold up my hand and have 7 fingers and a weird thumb.
Exactly. Quick hitter time, and it's a heavy day of quick hitters, man. Are you ready?
I am always ready for a quick hitter.
There's 10 of them on the board, and I don't have the graphic for the screen because I'm a terrible person. I didn't make it, but Kevin Durant point watch. Friday night, Durant hit for 30 in a loss against Portland, but he moves into 7th place all time on the NBA scoring list, passing Wilt. Next up on the list, Dirk Nowitzki right now has a 125-point lead. We might be talking about Kevin Durant moving to 6th place next week. Houston has the Kings, Bulls, Thunder, and Minnesota lined up before our next show. So I know you can't see it, but he's 125 points back. Is he in 6th place next week when we're talking?
Yes.
He gets 125 in the week. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think not only will he be motivated to get it, but his teammates will feed him the ball.
Number 2, from the start of the NBA season to our holiday show and break, the Oklahoma City Thunder lost 3 games. Over our 2-week break, the Thunder lost 4 more. I don't think anybody's happier to see us back on the air than OKC, is there?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. One of the most fun things in the NBA right now is how much the Spurs seem to hate OKC, and particularly Victor Wembanyama hating Chet Holmgren.
They play them so well.
Yeah, and the NBA needs that kind of legitimate hatred a little bit.
Good intra-conference rivalry.
Yeah, with young teams too.
Speaking of rivals, as Michigan fans, one of our rivals was Michigan State. Paul Davis, I don't know if you saw this, Michigan State center back in the day, all kinds of big games, Final Fours, whatever. He was at a Spartan home game against USC recently, and he was ejected by the ref. Tom Izzo was quoted from the floor yelling at him, "What the F are you thinking?" No word on what was actually said, but Izzo did say on Monday that anywhere in the world, this should never be said. It wasn't racial. It wasn't sexual. I think Davis might have been yelling out Stranger Things spoilers.
And that's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, can you imagine being an alumni, like a big-time alumni that's getting kicked out by a ref?
Was it I wonder if it was. I can't imagine. I mean, was it homophobic? Because that's what Kobe. That's what Kobe did to get in big trouble with the league.
They didn't say, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. So.
Well, Tom has already said it's not supposed. The league can't say. The NCAA can't say. Tommy's been told not to.
Number 4. This may or may not be current, but I just saw it on TikTok, so take it for what it's worth. A junior varsity girls basketball coach was fired, along with an assistant. And you'll never guess why. The assistant coach suited up and played in a JV game. I want you to consider how ridiculous this is by picturing one of our former assistant coaches suiting up and playing. Can you imagine lining up next to Rich Rabbits on the defensive line?
It wasn't Tom, was it? Can we get him back?
He was about as old as Rich. Rich Rabbits was older than 58 when he coached us, but
yeah. Look, I would have been proud to have lined up shoulder to shoulder with Mark Koskolitz.
As would I, the Moon. Sure. Number 5. Oh, this hurts. This hurts a lot. Don Mattingly signs to be the bench coach of the Philadelphia Phillies. This just gets reported because I think we should plan to take a trip over the summer and try to get seats close to the dugout so I can yell at them.
I was just saying I'd love to see a baseball game this summer. We haven't done that in years.
So Philadelphia is in. Whenever they play, we'll figure out a day that we can make it work.
Let's do it.
Sticking with baseball, and I guess we could have put this outside of quick links, but whatever. Alex Bregman signing a 5-year, $175 million deal to go to the Cubs. So Boston loses out on Bregman, who they helped use to push Rafael Devers out of town. Puts a lot of pressure on a guy like Trevor Story or Roman Anthony to have big years. What are your thoughts on Bregman leaving?
Yeah, I saw that this morning. It's a bummer. I really wanted him to stay in Boston, but it was probably a 50-50 at best. Because he had the kind of season where he had the leverage that he could leave if the money was right.
Speaking of money, early Mr. Smarty Pants right here. As of January 11th, which is today, 111, which Boston Red Sox will have the highest 2026 salary? He comes complete with an opt-out, but this season.
So the way that you're asking it tells me it's not Garrett Crochet.
Crochet. I believe he's third.
It's not Bobby Bonilla, is it?
No. And I think Ken Griffey's still getting paid by Cincinnati.
Yeah. Who is it?
Sonny Gray.
Oh, I forgot. I've been so wrapped up in football, I forgot all about the Sonny Gray deal.
$31 million base salary. Amazing. Number 7, we talked about Boston. Well, Cody Bellinger and the Yankees are at, quote, an impasse. Buster Olney reporting that the Yankees' offer was 5 years, around $30 million per season, which is close to what his peers got. Pete Alonso got 31, Schwarber got 30, Bregman got 35, all 5 years. Word on the street is Belly wants 7 years. Dude's 31. Market says 5 years is what teams are going for.
He's not getting 7 years.
I think this is holding up to Kyle Tucker signing. He's out there too. But here's the deal. With the new CBA and that kind of situation looming in 324 days, I wonder if teams are being overly cautious this offseason. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so many things are up in the air in terms of the finances and just like the front office stuff in Major League Baseball.
There'd be a cap and that.
Yeah, like we just don't know what the financial landscape of Major League Baseball is going to be going forward. It's a tough offseason to negotiate.
It's a tough offseason to be a free agent, and Boris is really pushing for the years, but we'll see. Number 8, I heard this on the radio. Tiger Woods turned 50 on December 30th and is celebrating.
On the same day my nephew turned 13.
Your nephew's not celebrating on January 14th with an exclusive A-list celebrity-packed event.
You don't know that.
At the Breakers in Palm Beach to benefit his TGR Foundation. The dress code suggests that guests wear a touch of red. So, first off, Tim, would you ever suggest a dress code for your birthday party? And if so, what would it be?
Well, for my 40th birthday, I did have a 90s themed costume party.
I wrote that down. They just dress like the 90s. Huh?
Yeah. So that it'll be that every decade. I'll be turning 50 soon. We'll do another 90s themed party.
Sounds like a plan. Number 9, ESPN put out their first mock draft, and instead of me looking for Chicago as usual, I casually went through their top 5, and the New York Jets have the second pick, and it's widely projected they're looking for a quarterback. But could they stun the world and take an offensive lineman?
I would be stunned if they did not take an offensive lineman.
That's all they take. So, and only being half facetious here, after the game that Dante Moore had, they might look to trade down and take an offensive lineman. That might not be crazy.
Why not pick a defensive back who might get you an interception? How, as a professional football team, do you go a 17-game season without a tip pass, a jump route, anything that might give you? My God,
you're coached
that is
by
mind-boggling.
Back.
Hey.
Aaron Glenn could have suited up and picked one. Yeah, that's a crazy stat. Will never be broken.
Wild.
Last one. I was driving to school this week, and along the route, one of the houses has this beautiful, amazing Christmas setup. Today's January 11th. When do Christmas decorations come down?
This weekend is when they, unless you're like Greek Orthodox.
Okay.
I think you get an exception if your religion recognizes a later Christmas, like the Greek Orthodox Church does. Otherwise, if you're celebrating like what most Christian denominations celebrate, this is the weekend when that stuff comes down.
I'm looking for an answer. Now I know. So if it's still there tomorrow, oh, look at this. I had the lists. There's Kevin Durant in 7th place.
Oh yeah, look at that. He sure is.
He sure is. All right. That's a little soup and meatball blooper there for you. Draft.
Yeah, a rare misstep.
I'm excited about our draft today. I was thrown off. So this past week, the finale for the show Stranger Things dropped. I think it dropped on Monday. I think that's when Jen and I watched it. Stranger Things has been one of my favorite shows since it dropped back in, was it 2016?
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. One, because as children of the 80s, I saw a lot of us in that show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like, we went over to Mark Vitro's house and played D&D. Not nearly as much as those kids did. We fought monsters that one time.
Absolutely. Road bikes.
Yeah, bikes all over the world. So what better draft than to celebrate the ending of Stranger Things than to draft our favorite Stranger Things characters? And I will say you are only on episode 6 of the final season.
Yes, I was trying to power through.
So I will not explain everything about episode 7. I don't even remember episode 7, but episode 8, the last one. We'll get into that next week.
Yeah,
so,
I want to say the last thing I saw was Will Byers doing the run.
That was cool. He took over Vecna's mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was he yelling at? The two girls?
Yeah, Max. Yeah.
Max and Holly. Okay.
And we should also, for anyone who doesn't want to be spoiled, we're obviously going to engage in some spoilers here.
Yeah, up to a certain point.
Well, right. Yeah.
Next, and it's been to the point now where, like, you know, if you haven't seen it, then you're as bad as this guy.
Oh, no one's worse than me.
The Bills are worse than you. They're down 7-3 with 7:47 left.
Hey, I love it because I picked the Jaguars to win this one. Oh, that's a touchdown. He's gone.
Oh, is it? Oh, see, he just snapped the ball here.
Oh, Buffalo. No, they got pushed out to like the 5.
Oh my heavens. 7. But okay, I need a number and color.
4. Red.
4 is the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, the women's right to vote. I think we've had this before. Women's suffrage by 1916, almost all of the major suffrage organizations were united behind the goal of a constitutional amendment. Who changed his position to support the amendment in 1918? President
Woodrow Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson. There you go. It is the 10 of hearts. So you have the number one pick.
I feel like there are two people who are right up there as the two best characters in my book. But the guy, I'm going to say it's Hopper for me.
Yeah,
I've always been a big Hopper guy.
Dude, so Jim Hopper was my number one as well. Let me tell you something. Now you've seen all the other seasons, right?
Yeah.
If you can watch the end of season 3 and listen to him read that letter, and not get like a big throat frog, you're not human.
For me, I was all in on the character when he shows up to work hungover, and he's pouring himself a coffee and like
quiet contemplation.
Yeah, quiet contemplation.
Okay.
But then also when you're talking about the throat in the moment or heart in the throat moment, for me, it's when you get the episode in season 1 where you find out what happened to his daughter.
Oh my gosh! Oh, dude, yeah.
David Harbour is fantastic in the role.
He is. So he goes through like life changes in season. Was it season 4 when he was in Russia? Like he what do they call that? When like you actually put yourself in the role and like character
method acting.
Method acting, yeah. Like he lost all kinds of weight.
He did that for Hellboy. He was playing. He got ripped to play Hellboy.
Okay, and just an incredible job. Now, some of the stuff I wonder about, like his fight against the super soldier in season 3, the first one. I was like, dude, just why did you just sneak up, just shoot him?
Yeah.
Then you don't have the drama of season 3. When they exploded the Russian laser in season 3, I got all upset. Like, I can't believe they're taking Hopper away from me. Like I got like, I was mad. I was ready to throw down with the Duffers.
I mean, I loved, especially in the early seasons, his relationship with Elle, and just the protective streak he has towards her. I knew instantly who I was putting as my favorite character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easy number one for me.
Easy number one for me. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a big surprise, and he wasn't around as long as some of the others on the list, but I'll tell you what, man. When you first see him, he doesn't look like the kind of character that's gonna carry a season. But I'm how can I not take my Funko Pop here? I love Eddie Munson to the point where you saw what he did to Dustin's character at the beginning of season 5. Like he's not in season 5. Spoiler alert, you won't see him in episode 7 or 8. But his legacy is, and like he has changed Dustin. He almost made Dustin grow up. And Dustin was this little kid, like he was missing 15 teeth, and he makes Dustin grow up fast after seeing him.
And I've seen it in season 5 where Dustin and Steve get into the fight, where Steve says some stuff about Eddie, like I wasn't as high on Eddie as you are, but I do like the effect he had on the other characters.
And the cool thing about the actor Joe Quinn, he actually plays Master of Puppets. It's him playing the song. He went out and method acted learning that piece, and he played with Metallica as well. And Metallica, they did the underscore for that scene. They loved it. They thought it was awesome. So that part of it is cool for me.
I will say the actor Joseph Quinn is a really good Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four. He was in the Marvel adaptation of Fantastic Four as the Human Torch, and he was really he's my favorite Human Torch that we've gotten on like in any movie.
Okay. So who's your two? And I'm afraid that your two is my three.
Well, as long as we're going to talk in numbers, if your 3 is my 2, because my 2 is 11.
It's not, but I'll give it to you.
Yeah, it's kind of hand in glove with her and Hopper.
11 was my 10.
I remember watching the first season and just thinking, I was like, who is this actor who's playing 11? She has very little dialogue. She speaks in like 1 and 2 words, and she commands the screen as like a 12-year-old girl. I was like, Millie Bobby Brown's like this generation's Jodie Foster. Like she's going to be amazing. And it kind of seems like she's had an indifferent approach to her acting career. She's gotten older, and some of that might be, how famous she got because of the role.
She got big really, really fast, and I wonder, like, if you look at her view of Stranger Things, I don't know if she likes being typecast as 11, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely seems like she does not, because she's picked some
11 roles.
Yeah, just odd career choices. But in that, she was lightning in a bottle in the first season. To the point, I dressed as her for Halloween in 2016.
Really?
Yeah, I wore a hospital gown, and I put like a ketchup nosebleed, and I buzzed my hair, and I walked around with a box of Eggo waffles.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's incredible. I'll tell you what, my number 2, if you want to talk about character arc, this guy's journey through the Stranger Things universe is wild.
I think your 2 is my 3.
Murray Bowman starts off as a conspiracy theorist turned lawyer, maybe, turned Russian translator, turned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and then in season 5, do you know what he's doing in season 5?
Yeah, so far I've only seen him like drive up in a supply truck and
Driving a truck.
Yeah.
The actor who plays Murray Bowman's on TikTok, and
Brett Gelman.
He's filming. He filmed a couple TikToks from the truck. And he's like, "Yeah, I was a ninja last season. Now I'm driving a truck." And I don't know if he was like being purposefully like smartass about it, or if he's just being an actor. Like, "Yep, I'm driving
he's
a
an
truck."
improv comedian. I know Brett Gelman from like the LA improv.
Okay. Dude. So his arc to me, and some of the stuff that you find out like with whatever season Nancy and Jonathan show up at his house, I think it's season 2, when he's investigating Barb and the whatnot, and he gives them the pull-out couch or something.
Yeah.
And during breakfast, he's supposed to eat something and it falls off the fork, and he just looks at it and is like, "Oh well," and he picks up, totally ad-libbed, and Nancy and Jonathan are looking at him like, trying not to break character. I thought Murray was annoying at first because he's the conspiracy theorist lawyer. Don't crack the case
intentionally. So though he's written as a grating personality.
But he grew, and he was so vital in season 3 as the Russian translator.
Yeah.
And how about this in season 3 when Dustin and Susie are singing the greatest the theme song, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when she called like Dusty Buns or something, and he turns and he's like, "What are we doing? I need Planck's constant so we can stop the end of the world. And you're singing the never ending story." Oh, that face that was amazing. So Murray Bowman, my number 2.
So then I've got to snatch up my number 3 before you get him. Maybe the best character arc of anyone, and certainly the best head of hair in Hawkins, Indiana. But give me Steve.
Steve wasn't on my list.
I love me some Steve, and I love me some Joe Keery.
Good character, because he starts out as the Duffers were going to kill him.
Yes,
he was lined up to be dead, but because he arced so well from bully jerk spray painting Nancy on the theater, the fans took to him. So
he's basically like Billy Zabka from The Karate Kid when he starts. He's the classic 80s preppy bully. And then he just kind of like gets dragged down and down and down until you can't help but just love him.
and his relationship with Dustin
And Robin. I love his friendship with Robin.
Well, the Robin thing when they're at the ice cream shop working and Dustin shows up and she says to him, "How many children do you know?"
Yeah.
Like, no, the friendship with Dustin is something that's really strange because, like, all right, you and I were 80s kids. Would you have hung out with a high school junior when you were in 6th grade?
Well,
Like the Mike Friendies of the world and the Vinces of the world, they weren't that much older than us, I don't think.
Friendy was like maybe 3 or 4 years older because I remember he had his license when I was 12. Because I can remember listening
Steve
to
was a high school senior when these guys are in middle school.
So that's about the same. Like I can remember riding around in Friendy's first car while he blasted "When Will They Shoot" by Ice Cube.
Right, so maybe I'm wrong. So Mike Friendy was our Steve.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm drawn to Steve. Then
There you go. There you go. Boy, so I have 10 names listed, and only 3 of them are checked off. Oh, 11's checked off. She's at the bottom. I'll go with with this one because I'll tell you what. I don't think you can look at this entire series and not think of this character. And this character said 0 words. 0. I'm going to pick the Demogorgon.
okay.
The flower monster. When I first saw it, season 1, it scared the hell out of me. Oh my, what is that thing? It was so creepy looking. And then it evolved into like the dogs in season 2. But it was it was a part of every season. And it was just so vicious looking.
And it's funny because we had some version of this conversation over text where I told you that I'll just say the Demogorgon looks like a vagina with legs. And, the literary nerd in me, the English major in me says that when you have a story with 4 young teen protagonists who are being haunted by a walking vagina, it might be a metaphor for something about growing up and part of adolescence. And I'm not kidding when I say that, by the way.
I can get that. I can get that. No,
yeah. I think the imagery is intentional.
But you saw both sides of it. It's a very weak monster. I mean, because 11 uses her powers and just smashes it up against the wall.
Yeah.
But Hopper also gets the best of it with a flaming sword. It's very susceptible to fire. However,
with a broken wine bottle.
Yeah, in season 5. However, you saw some vicious kills with it too.
Yeah.
When it grabs you with those face teeth. So yeah, give me some Demogorgon at number 3.
That's a good pick. For my number 4, I'm going to go with someone who kind of has grown on me, who I wasn't quite sure of at first. I'm going to go with Max.
Okay.
Because at first I was kind of like, it's like any show as it goes along and they start to add characters and you're like, oh, okay. But Max really grew on me. Obviously, you have that, running up that hill, the Kate Bush moment.
Never heard that song until this show, and I grew up. I lived every second of the '80s. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, and then just the actor too. She's having the career that I felt Millie Bobby Brown was going to have, because Sadie Sink is just blowing up, and rightfully so. She's very talented.
Spider-Man movie now, I think that's like
she's going to be in the new Spider-Man. The rumor is that she's going to play Jean Grey of the X-Men. So she'll be sticking around the Marvel universe for a while.
So I loved how they introduced her as Mad Max, because as someone who knows, Max is generally a guy's name, and when they go to the arcade and they're like, who beat your Dig Dug record? Oh, who's Mad Max? And like, it's this girl, and they're at that age, like that 7th grade age, where they're starting to notice girls, and introducing her to the party and the group added that kind of weird stress on the guys, and Lucas became the primary source of that, I guess. She came along for the same reason that they didn't kill Steve off. They had to bring a bad guy. and she was the brunt of Billy, who I mean he didn't make my list. If he made yours, we'll get to him later. But the Billy was so bad that you didn't mind seeing him die eventually, but he was still her brother. So you saw that kind of. She had some really good acting scenes in the cemetery. So if you're looking for stuff like that, yeah, Max is a good pick.
As a little aside on Billy, can we just talk about how uncomfortable it was watching him try to seduce
Mrs. Wheeler?
Mrs. Wheeler at the pool, and how Mrs. Wheeler was more than a little into it. She was game. She was down to clown.
Forget about it. All right, my number 4. I'll tell you what. I'm inclined. Yeah, so I'm going to go with this guy. Really, it might be the teacher in me. I think Mr. Clark was as underrated a character as there was because of what he did for the exposition of the show, especially early. The episode, the acrobat and the flea, he basically introduced us to what the upside down was. Anytime they had to explain something with science, they went to Mr. Clark.
And I totally forgot about him until you brought him up.
Mr. Clark is he's a cool character in that, he's just a middle school science teacher trying to find his own way. And, these kids, and as a teacher, I see kids in like my video game club and like when I coach football outside of the classroom where like you can actually talk to them like they're humans, right? Yeah. He has that relationship with the 4 heroes or whatever you want to call them, the D&D group that, it's cool to see. So give me some Mr. Clark really for the exposition that he allowed a dummy like me to understand, oh, this is what's going on.
You're right. And, he's not someone I've thought of in probably 10 years since I watched it like season 1. But now that you bring him up, I'm like, oh, yeah, like I did enjoy his role as like a mentor of sorts and like an audience guide to kind of walk us through what was actually happening.
And he was just dumb enough that when they brought 11 to the school in that blonde wig, he's like, who's the new kid?
What a ridiculous sight gag, but it totally worked for me. She's basically E.T. in season 1.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's the whole tie-in with the 80s, and you'll see, finale-wise.
Eggo waffles are her Reese's Pieces in the way they just dress her up and like hide her from the adults.
I would love to see if Eggo's stock took a bump like after season 1, season 2.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Like Reese's Pieces did back in like 84 or whatever it was.
Yeah. My number 5, another late addition to the show. But I really like Robin because I like how she interacts with Steve. I love that relationship, and I also love just the vulnerability of the character, where like you get the idea that Steve's like, oh, like he was the jock kind of like womanizer, and like you get the sense that they're setting them up as a will they won't they, and she's like, no, I am hella gay.
I like the other team, yeah. I like I said when she one of the best lines maybe in the whole series. How many children do you know? Yeah. And she delivered it so like in that dry like I'm actually serious. Like yeah, you're gonna laugh, but like when they found the Russian code, that's like when she really got into like the team of like, oh yeah, I'm now a part of this group because I helped these children crack this Russian code. That was really cool.
And also, I think because so much of the beginning part of her character was centered around when they were in the mall, and just my nostalgia for that like setting, I think that plays into like my affection for the character. And also, it's no accident that I think the 2 actors who've broken out the most from Stranger Things are Sadie Sink and Maya Hawke.
Oh, so Maya actually came out and she was with her dad, and somebody came up and like
I saw this.
Ethan was like, yeah, and like,
yeah, not when I'm with my kids. And they're like, who
are you? I want to talk to her.
Yeah,
that's great. And I'll tell you what, I didn't know where her character was going, but when she first hit, I thought she might have been Demogorgon fodder. Like,
Yeah.
you have to introduce characters so that they can die, because whatever. She hung around. She took the truth serum like a tough chick, and the scene in the bathroom where she kind of came out with Steve. That was. I wondered how this is Steve's babyface turn. Steve in season 1 doesn't take it the same way.
Exactly.
I don't think he takes
Even
that kind
season
of
one
rejection.
it feels rejected and hurt and lashes out.
Oh, he definitely lashes out. So you see his growth as a human, which is, I guess, rare for 1985. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys to pick, and I'm going to go with this guy. Really, he was 9th on the list, but I don't think I ranked him after 1 and 2 because it feels weird not picking one of the guys. And for exposition, and you're going to see later on how important he is. I'll take Dustin.
Dustin was my number 6.
Dustin as a character, really, really, I think he's the smart one, but he really blends. He lets you know what's going on. He is the exposition of the 4/5.
He's my favorite of the core group.
And his relationship with Steve, the 4 puffs of Farrah Fawcett when he's got the hair.
Yep.
that mullet that he rocks in season 2, and then later in season 5 when he starts to grow it out, I think because of Eddie. And the actor himself is an incredible actor. He's been on Broadway. He's a
great
tremendous singer. Yeah, absolute great voice control and stuff like that. So I will take Dustin. I had 3 other guys on the list that I would not have felt bad taking. When I look at those characters, I think if I were one of them, it might be Lucas, because I was geeky. We played D&D, like I said, but we played sports.
Lucas is on my list as well. He's my second favorite of the core group.
Yeah. I back in season 3, I don't think he says much, but he likes cherry Slurpees. Dr. Alexi. I don't, up until Eddie Munson, I don't think I was as sad when somebody died, because he was such a nice guy. He was so wholesome. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just, I'm a scientist. I like these Slurp. And that mean Terminator guy just coldly shoots him at the carnival. Oh, that was heartbreaking. So Dr. Alexi made the list, and I had one other, really just because of who played him and his tie to the 1980s, Victor Creel, who isn't really much of a character, but Robert Englund, they get Freddie into that series as a guy who kind of pushes, this is that part of the story.
Right. Yeah, it's always cool when you see like some of the actors who have 80s ties, like Linda Hamilton in season 5. Yep. Sean Astin in season 2 is Bob. I liked Bob. But Bob had dorky dad energy. I liked Bob. Other than Dustin and Lucas, I just because she was a source of humor. I loved Barb from season 1 and her mom jeans. Just to die in a pool and never be brought up again. Poor Barb. Just for Barb.
She was brought up in season 2, I think. Well, with Murray trying to find her.
Yeah, but just barely. She gets forgotten for a teenage who's murdered in the Midwest in the 80s. She gets forgotten pretty quickly.
Very quickly. You're not wrong. Justice for Barb.
This one's going to be a dark horse, but I'm going to tell you, Mike's dad, Ted.
Yes. No.
Ted Wheeler. Just like he never fails to make me laugh. How all this supernatural stuff's happening, and he's like, "Can someone pass the bacon?" Like he's just like a Midwest dad who just wants to practice his putting in the front yard.
I don't want you to take this the wrong way. I see a lot of Greg Hare in him, though.
I absolutely see my dad in Ted Wheeler.
Because like your dad in the middle of like the end of the world, like. So what are we doing? What's on TV tonight, Tim?
Right, like I remember, like on New Year's Eve of 1999, when everyone's freaking out about Y2K, and my dad was like, "Judy, where are the leftover pork chops?"
I think he was big on his chair, and so I'm seeing a lot of the look back the flashback stuff on TikTok, and 11 jumping on his chair, and like Mike being like, "Dude, you're on my dad's chair." Like,
Yeah.
that was a big thing in the '80s. So
Ted Wheeler cracks me up, man. That guy's a trip.
Ted Wheeler. I'm glad Papa didn't get mentioned. I wasn't a big Papa fan. There was one other that popped into my head as you were talking. And it's gone now.
One who we haven't mentioned, who I liked in season 1, but she got sidelined as the show went along, is Joyce. Winona Ryder.
Oh, Joyce Byers.
Yeah.
Oh, she's big in season 5, man.
But like in the middle,
big in all of them.
like she just kind of disappears. Like in season 1, when she's like going crazy trying to find her kid, that was really compelling. And then the show kind of forgot about her. It felt like
Came back with a vengeance. She's around, man.
all right.
Good. I tell you what, if I had to rank my favorite shows, I don't know if Stranger Things might top Lost, just because like of my tie to the '80s, and like they got so much right. Like the Starcourt Mall was essentially the Wyoming Valley Mall in Wilkes-Barre for us.
Yep.
Lights, the food court. Laura Mall didn't have a food court.
It was really just Dino's Pizza.
Overall, like what happened with them because of COVID, and like these kids were like this, and then in season 5 they're basically adults.
Right.
But you know what? They're in high school. They went from middle school to high school throughout the series, and like you have to suspend disbelief a little bit. Like at the end of season 4, there's this massive earthquake, and oh boy, look at that! You got a first down.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence.
10-7 Bills. But at the end of season 4, that massive earthquake with that kind of gets brushed over at the beginning of season 5. Yeah, we just covered it up with some metal. Like,
yeah, and with any show like that, like I was a big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I didn't see a lot of Buffy.
I love that show, and you need a good, healthy amount of suspension of disbelief with shows like that.
And I had it, so.
And yeah, in a great show that absolutely you fall in love with, you're just like, I'm willing to accept that, like, there are vampires in this California town, and the adults just conveniently turn a blind eye to it.
I look forward to next week when we talk about the finale and where you think life goes and all that stuff. Well, you have a week to get through it. I think you'll be fine. The finale is, I think, 2 hours. I think it is a longer.
Yeah, it's like movie length. If I
like 4 hours left in you.
Yeah.
So, all right, Mr. Smarty Pants time. I got questions and I got a list. You rocked out the first question.
Oil.
Yeah, that was awesome, dude. So here we go. Are you ready?
I am ready.
I saw this on TikTok and I didn't vet it, so it is what it is. In the history of the NBA three-point shooting contest, who has the least amount of points?
Okay.
I should have saved this for All-Star Weekend, but I'm like, I'll forget this if I don't ask him now.
So my first thought is that anyone who's never participated is tied for first with 0 points.
Yeah. So like, these people have participated. Allegedly. Again, I didn't vet this.
The least. So I'm trying to think of people who were in it early on who weren't like yearly guys. Like,
I can't even tell you what years these people did it.
What about someone like Danny Ainge?
Danny Ainge not on the list.
How about, maybe for the irony of it, what about Del Curry?
They didn't get it off and there's a flag. Del Curry's not the answer, no.
All right, let me ask for a hint. What era?
Ours. We know both of these guys. I guess they're tied. There's two names.
But were they like 80s, 90s?
80s, 90s, yeah. Late 80s, 90s. Well, no, mid 80s, 90s too, I guess.
What about someone like Percy Hawkins?
Oh. This guy, let me get his basketball reference page. Oh, they changed it. One guy's rookie year was 85-86. And the other guy's rookie year was 84-85. So,
For a guy who was drafted in '84 who didn't do the 3-point contest a lot, if at all, what about John Stockton?
I didn't know this guy did the 3-point shooting contest. You should vet it right now.
I might need like teams or something.
Wow. Okay. AI. So one guy played the majority of his years with the Chicago Bulls.
And you're saying the least amount of points?
In 3-point contest history, like at the All-Star game.
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Okay.
He went 5 for 30. This is 1990. 5 points, the lowest score in contest history, tying someone else who I remember mostly in Seattle, but I think he had cups of coffee in Indiana as well.
Dale Ellis?
Not Dale Ellis. You got the first initial right.
Detlef Schrempf?
Detlef Schrempf, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I should have guessed Jordan because I feel like I've seen that somewhere that he did 1 3-point contest.
I might have asked you this before, but another thing I saw on TikTok, sticking with the NBA, who is the only NBA franchise that has never changed their logo?
Well, I mean, the Celtics have been consistent, but they've made minor changes to the leprechaun. What about the Oklahoma City Thunder?
Not the OKC Thunder. They probably made color changes, like slight ones.
Oh, okay. Boy, I don't know. I'd just be throwing out names then.
The aforementioned Chicago Bulls.
Wow.
And if you go to Cream, some of the graphics that I put together as the Jaguars do not
field goal. No.
The referee, it was close. What's this? Chris Creamer has a logo page. He only has one for the Bulls. So.
Can you imagine a psychopath like Jordan, how much that must have burned him up to not only lose the 3-point, but to have the lowest score in 3-point contest history?
Probably not much because he didn't. He probably could have said, "Look, I'm going to do it again."
Right, but this is a guy who wouldn't let Christian Laettner go to bed when they were in Spain for the '92 Olympics.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe he knew his limitations, though. He wasn't a 3-point shooter. So, all right, list time. We talked earlier about Kevin Durant's climb on the NBA's all-time points list. He's also close to passing Akeem Olajuwon on another list. Total turnovers. He's currently ranked 11th with 3,655 turnovers. Can you name the 10 players currently higher on the list than Durant?
LeBron.
Number 1.
How about Kareem?
55-19.
How about Kareem?
Kareem is not on the list.
I was just trying to think of guys who played 18, 20 years. Vince Carter.
Vince Carter not on the list.
Boy, Chris Paul's been doing it a while. How about Chris Paul?
Paul's not on the list. And this is according to NBAreference.com. So I feel good about these numbers.
Right. I was just trying to think because Kareem, it was tough because as a post guy, he didn't bring it up but Chris Paul as a point guard to not be on there after 19 or 20 years. That's impressive.
So with your point guards, there's a handful there.
How about Stockton?
John Stockton is number 5 on the list. 42-44.
Jason Kidd.
Kidd is number 7 on the list. 4,003. More point guards.
Magic?
Magic's not one of them.
Yeah, he didn't play long enough. How about Tony Parker?
No, Tony Parker's not on the list.
Derek Fisher. How about Chris Paul?
Derek Fisher is not on the list. 4,003. More point guards. How about Tony Parker? No, Tony Parker's not on the list. No, Tony Parker's not on the list. 4,003. These are bigger names than Tony Parker and Derek Fisher.
Isaiah had a short career. It's not Isaiah, is it?
Isaiah's number 9.
Wow,
36,
he only played
82.
like 11 years.
36-82. So Durant probably passes him. I mean, this season. I mean, you assume he has 30 turnovers in him.
Steve Nash?
No, not on Nash. So there's one more point guard who's number 2 on the list.
One more point guard.
I think he's a point guard. He should be a point guard.
Dennis Johnson.
Bigger name than Dennis Johnson.
Oscar Robertson?
Maybe not that big a name. But you know what? This guy has some Oscar Robertson in him.
Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook is number 2.
Okay.
4,955 and counting.
As soon as I said Robertson, I was like, I bet it's Westbrook.
There is 2 more guards, and that's it for guards then.
Is Jordan on there?
Nope, not in the top 11. But maybe with the 2 year, like LeBron has been playing for like 75 years, so it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not shocking.
How about Kobe?
Kobe's on the list. He's number 6.
Another non-point guard who played a while.
This guy's definitely not a point guard. He's number 4 on the list. You're missing 3, 4.
How about Tracy McGrady?
No T-Mac.
How about not in terms of guards, but how about Shaq?
No Shaq. As far as centers go, there are 2 centers on the list.
Parrish? All right, you might have to give them to me. Now I'm just throwing out names of guys who've been in the league forever.
So one guy was, he's definitely in the top 3 in points. Let me just double check that. Yeah, he's in the top 3 in points.
Top 3 in points. Malone?
Karl Malone is number 3 in turnovers. The other guard, he's played in a lot of places. Like I know he was with Houston, Oklahoma City. I think he was in LA for a while, maybe Philadelphia.
And a guard who is in Philly, Houston, Oklahoma City, LA.
Yeah, I just checked it. He also spent some time in Brooklyn.
Who is it?
Honey Bun. Does that help?
What'd you say, Honey Bun?
One of his nicknames is Honey Bun.
Oh my God. I don't know who it is.
I've never heard of James Harden.
Oh my God. When you said LA, I was thinking the Lakers. Oh my God.
Sorry. Gotcha.
No, that's on me. He's currently with LA. Yeah.
One of the centers is was famously with the 76ers.
Mutombo?
No.
Moses Malone?
Moses Malone. Oh my gosh, he played for a lot of other teams too.
Yeah, Atlanta,
His nickname
Houston.
Octobowl.
I've never heard Harden called Honey Bun.
You got to get on Basketball Reference and just look at some of these nicknames. They're ridiculous. And then the other center, I mean, think about centers who are top 5 of all time.
Russell, Wilt, Kareem, Shaq, Olajuwon.
Olajuwon.
Oh, well, you said Olajuwon.
You said, why wouldn't you say him?
I thought you said Durant was about to pass Olajuwon.
Oh, I did. I gave it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay. I said he's close to passing Hakeem on the other list. Who can be named the top 10? I didn't even think of that.
I have 2 trivia questions for you.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, let's get ourselves ready here.
All right. The first one is related to the national title game. Miami is trying to become the second Division I university to win national titles under 5 different head coaches, because they previously won under Howard Schellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, Larry Coker, and Dennis Erickson. Who is currently the only major college football program to have national titles with under 5 coaches?
Coaches. Oh my gosh. Uh,
And I will specify this is since the AP poll began in 1936. So we're not going to include like in the 20s, like when teams are like, oh, we're national champion. It's only since the advent of the AP poll in 1936.
yeah, so I got to think of like even teams who even would have won a national championship, like, um, and like when I think of like a team like Nebraska, I think Osborne was there for like 40 years. So what are the odds?
Yeah, Osborne, and they went without a national title for a long time under Osborne.
Penn State has a bunch, but they're all under Paterno. Like they have zero since Paterno. Paterno started in 1906. So, how about Notre Dame?
Notre Dame has 4. I believe it was Frank Leahy, Dan Devine, Ara Parseghian, and Lou Holtz.
You wouldn't give me Ohio State, would you?
What's that?
You wouldn't give me Ohio State, would you?
It is Ohio State.
What's wrong with you? Oh, you're kidding. You're worse than Tom.
It is. They won with Paul Brown won in the 30s, and then
Day, Meyer,
yeah, Hayes, Tressel, Meyer, and the guy with the eyeliner.
Yeah.
The other trivia question is.
All right. Oh, hold on. I'm going to bask in this for a little bit. I mean, I thought, but all right. So back to Mr. Noodle.
Sorry, I didn't mean to rain on your victory parade. So the Denver Broncos are the number 1 seed in the AFC, making Sean Payton the 3rd coach in NFL history to be a number 1 seed with a team as the head coach of a team in each conference. Who was the first to do it? So I'll tell you, Andy Reid has obviously since done it with the Eagles. Now,
Oh, okay. That was Andy Reid was okay. He was my first.
So someone did it before Andy Reid and Sean Payton. Who's the first to have been a 1 seed in both the AFC and NFC as head coach?
Oh my gosh.
The answer may surprise you.
My first guess was Andy Reid, and he was right, so I feel pretty good.
Vindication.
Matt, you could tell me the year he did it. I don't know if I try to think of coaches who coached in both conferences. Like Bill Belichick didn't. He was an assistant in the NFC. Like Bill Parcells.
Parcells is a great guess, but it's not Bill Parcells.
Oh, okay. And Jim Harbaugh coached in both, but it's not Harbaugh. All right, yeah, you got me. Well, what teams did he do it with?
If I give you that, you'll probably get it.
Well, I'm giving up anyway. So
okay, he did it with Jacksonville and then with the New York Giants.
Coughlin.
Tom Coughlin.
That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I totally forgot Coughlin's stint in Jacksonville. Like that was.
When I heard that trivia question, my thoughts were Parcells or Dan Reeves from his time with either the Broncos and then the Falcons and then the Giants as well. Yeah, those Dirty Birds.
That was in our college days. I used to do the Dirty Bird at IUP basketball games.
That's embarrassing.
IUP dance team had one of our fraternity sweethearts on it, and a bunch of the guys, we would dance with them up there, and that's pretty much the only dance I knew. So,
oh, there you go. Tom Coughlin appreciates that story because it's related to his triumphs.
And somewhere Jamal Anderson is I don't know what Jamal Anderson's doing.
I'm sure he's doing fine, or maybe he's not. What do I know?
Sitting watching the Bills and Jaguars right now, which is
with Doug Peterson
on a weird commercial for not for you. I have F&M Trust, which is obviously not in North Central Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I've got I don't know, some kind of car commercial. A family sedan being terrorized by motorcycles. That's weird.
As a Wikipedia page, sports broadcasting career. In 2010, Jamal Anderson began appearing on CNN as an analyst, providing insight on current NFL issues and highlights from other sports leagues. He had some arrest problems. 2018 for refusing to pay his limo driver. He was intoxicated in 2025. Oh, suspicion of felony domestic violence. Oh boy. Yeah, so not good.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to sunnier things.
Yeah, well, I think it's p o'clock right now.
It is desperately p o'clock here.
Tom was like, before we started, he's like, I think I should go to the bathroom. I'm like, it's probably a good idea. I don't know how, if you're here for the whole show, we're going on 2:40 right now. So
the same way that he has an NLI with Asper cream, we should get an NLI for like catheters.
Adult diapers.
Yeah.
It's like it's New Year's Eve over here, and like I gotta go, but I'm standing here for the next 18 hours.
Yeah, how much do you need to enjoy something to just be like, no, I will willfully soil myself to enjoy this experience?
Oh my gosh, it can't be that much fun. I've known some people who've done it though, so like that's something you do in your 20s, not when you're as old as we are.
Yeah, no, that sounds terrible.
It'll stay on the bucket list forever, and I don't care. I would sooner go back to school and play college football.
Same.
And I am not a power lifter, nor do I hit the gym probably as hard as Tom did. So
I like beef jerky and Whoppers, though.
So do I. And I'll tell you what, if we can figure out a way to get to a Lycoming game, I mean, how far is Williamsport down the road from you?
45 minutes.
Let's see. But Phillies game more important on deck.
Yes.
Good show, man. Get your butt watching the second half here and Stranger Things after that, so we can talk about it next week.
Yeah, and then but first let's get our pee on.
Sounds like a plan. So out in the internet world,